In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This.
Hello, how are you doing? Welcome to the Situation Room. It's the Ides of March. Oh my God. Yeah, it's that day. How you doing? It is Monday, the 15th of March, 2021.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
We're just going to go ahead and make up stuff? Okay.
And how are you?
I am well, thank you, Eric Latif. How are you?
Me? I'm fine.
Super duper.
Yes. It's that day. So what is it? The Ides of March?
Tell me, what is the Ides of March? What is it?
Well, I'll tell you. It's the 74th day of the Roman calendar, corresponding to the 15th of March, marked by several religious observances and was notable for the Romans as a deadline for settling debts.
Yeah, the day for settling debts. Yeah. So this is the day. Settle your debts.
Okay. The headline in the Business Daily today is that people have defaulted on help and it's a day to settle your debts. Okay. The cartoon in The Nation today is Wanjiku being crushed in debt as the government opens projects.
And many other things going on at the same time.
And many other things going on at the same time on this Ides of March. That's it. Welcome to the Situation Room, everybody. We are glad that you are able to join us today. We hope you had a lovely weekend. In the room with you this morning is Nduoko and Eric Latif. City Muga, feet up in the air, chillaxing.
Sipping on a hot coffee.
Yeah. Or so he claims. So he calls it. Yeah. We'll have some conversations today. So first of all, fuel prices have gone up again. On a day like this, last month, we had a conversation with an energy sector expert.
Yes.
And he was telling us very many things and explaining how then the fuel goes that high. We'll have this conversation again today because fuel prices have gone up. Again, 122 per litre of super petrol in Nairobi from this morning for the next 30 days until the 14th of April. What does that mean? What does that mean if you look at the trickle-down effect of all that to all other sectors of the economy? How do you explain this? So we'll have a conversation about that, and we'd like people to join in this conversation. The other thing that we'll talk about is the politics of the day. There's a lot of politics. There's political parties, and there's new political formations, and there's still by-elections that are going to be coming up soon. We had the by-elections, the 7 by-elections that took place 2 weeks ago. In a few days' time, we'll also have another by-election taking place, notably in Machakos for the senator's seat, plus other by-elections. There's a new political party that is fielding a candidate in every by-election.
Good grief.
The Wilbur Party, UDA, is everywhere. And that's a very good strategy for them because this is the only way you get visibility. This is the way you get people to know that you exist. And also you test your own popularity with the people. That has an impact as well, though, on the government and how the government is structured at present. So we'll have a conversation about that. Plus having a conversation about what we should be doing to cut costs. Meanwhile, the government has said over 7,000 people got vaccinated, and they want to ramp up that to doing many more people.
Yeah, so today there's the 7,000, right? We're looking at doing many more, especially for teachers, as we are all set for KCPE and KCSC. So we're going to go right into COVID? Okay, so let's look at the numbers that were recorded in Kenya first before we go to these mass jabs for teachers. 431 COVID cases yesterday and 5 deaths. Down from 870 the day before and 7 new deaths. Those are the numbers that we're looking at in Kenya currently. If we look around the world, global numbers now reading at 120,407,530, with 2,664,963 deaths having been recorded so far. Now, some not so good news. Brazil now is second only to the United States in terms of COVID cases. The situation in Brazil is spiraling, rather hurtling south rather quickly. And having now passed the Indian subcontinent in terms of what they have been recording with COVID-19 cases, it does not look good at all. Brazil now has 11,483,370 COVID-19 cases, 278,327 deaths. With a country that has look at in terms of its population, right? Brazil has 213 million people in terms of population. They've got about 28 million tests officially having been done, and that is what's being reported on a national scale. But clearly it is much more than this, because the numbers that they've seen in the last couple of days has actually now been quite worrisome. 44,120 cases yesterday, Sunday, with 1,111 deaths yesterday. The day before that, on Saturday, Brazil recorded 70,934 cases and 1,940 deaths in a single day. It's not a joke, and what they're going through now is actually quite terrible. And the thing is that the president and his government have not started shouting and touting about this, really. They're just still saying, yeah, well, we'll figure it out as we go along.
As things happen.
As things happen, we'll figure it out. The vaccines are here, so we should be all right. Not really. Many more people are still continuing to get sick.
Wow.
It's really, really not a good situation in terms of what's happening here. And they're running after COVID.
Do you know when you have 2,000, 1,000 deaths every single day in a country, that's a very high number.
It is. 2,000 people dying every day.
That's a very,
It's a
very,
high number. Absolutely. And
oh my goodness.
This is just a watch and see, because the country itself is not, what can they do? Whereby on Saturday, what was being reported was that now the intensive care units were filled to capacity. Before, they were not dealing with that. Just the day before, they at least had some space. But now intensive care units around the country filled to capacity. And if anybody were to come about, they had no space for them, and they just basically had to wait. So a lot of the deaths are coming out as a result of people trying to get into hospital, and there's no space for them, and having to wait, and then unfortunately succumbing to those before they get any kind of medical attention. Unfortunately, that is what is happening.
That's crazy.
It's
cray. What's happening in the neighborhood of Brazil, though?
Okay,
the other countries around.
So let's look around. Let's look at the countries around, right? Colombia, Argentina. Colombia, in terms of the cases that they reported over the last couple of days. So Colombia, 4,000 new cases, 97 new deaths. Is around the same numbers that they've been seeing. 4,400 the day before, 4,078 the day before that. So you're looking at, relatively low numbers here.
Right.
If we look
Uruguay, Argentina,
Paraguay, for example, Argentina has a total of 2 million coronavirus cases. What they have been recording in the last couple of days, around the same numbers, 3,697. The day before that, 6,000.
24 deaths, 68 deaths.
85
when
deaths.
their neighbor is reporting 2,000 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bolivia, Uruguay.
So Bolivia, Argentina, and then now let's look. We have to look, but now here we find countries like Peru. Peru with 5,000 new cases, 177 new deaths yesterday, 8,000 cases the day before, 180 deaths, 7,000 new cases. if we're comparing this to what's happening in Brazil, we're looking at 44,000 cases yesterday, 70,000 the day before, 84,000 the day before that. This is incomparable, and these are neighboring countries, right? Look at some of those other countries on the continent. Chile, for example. Chile with yesterday what they were recording, 5,737 new deaths. The day before that, 5,800, 5,900 the day before. An average of 100 deaths over the last couple of days is what you're looking for now when you're looking at an average, right? So yeah, it is the hardest hit so far on the continent. If we look at countries in the Central Americas, for example, Costa Rica, which is on this list as well, Honduras, Guatemala. If we look at another country on the continent itself, Paraguay with 942 new cases yesterday. The day before that, 1,479, 1,766 the day before that. Again, incomparable. So Brazil really did not take precautions at all, from the very beginning. And that is what everybody was complaining about. So citizens are complaining today that, you know what, in as much as we knew that there was COVID, in terms of any kind of government administration or government, information, communication, there really was none. They didn't think it was going to get here.
Well, Brazil is part of the BRICS. It's a developed country in some way, right? So people have access to information. This is the other thing that I want to turn back on. And say, even as you see all this information about the kind of deaths that you see on a daily basis in Brazil, the people themselves are still out there in the field. They talk about how are the people interacting over Christmas. How have people been interacting in the last couple of months? People themselves, knowing that they're the ones whose relatives are dying. How are they behaving? Because you can sit back there and say, oh yeah, the government did not do this, the government did not do the other, but the people know. COVID is a global pandemic. Every part of this world knows about COVID-19. The people of Brazil have access to information about what is happening in their country and what's happening in other parts of the world. So why would the people themselves be out there not wearing masks, not observing social distancing, doing all those things? So you want to sit back and say, oh, the government should be telling me where to stay at home.
Well, really? Yeah, true. You can't fault that argument there at all, because, surely there is something that could have been done. That's for sure. Everybody now, unfortunately, is bearing the brunt of this responsibility when it comes to these COVID deaths and infections. And unfortunately, they're increasing, on the increase.
They're high.
They're very high.
Let's take a break then at 14 minutes past 6. Take a look at the weather, and then we want to hear from you. We are already live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And shortly, we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines after we take a look at the weather forecast for Nairobi, other towns within the country, and other cities around the world. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Malindi.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right. This Monday morning, it's mostly clear in Nairobi at 17. We're going to highs of 28 today, lows of 16. Clear conditions in Nyeri at 13, highs of 26 today. Highs will be recorded at 29 in Nakuru today. It's 15 at the moment and clear. Clear also in Eldoret at 14, highs of 26 and lows of 14. 31 will be recorded as the high in Kisumu. It's currently clear at 20. Partly cloudy conditions in Kakamega at 16, going to highs of 32. 32 will also be the high in Mombasa, where it's partly cloudy at 25. 32 the high in Malindi and partly cloudy at 26. It's mostly clear in Kampala at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 18. Partly cloudy conditions in Dar es Salaam at 24 degrees, highs of 33 and lows of 25. We're going to see a low of 14 today in Johannesburg. It's 15 and clear right now. Mostly clear conditions in Lagos at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 27. It's raining in Kinshasa this morning at 24. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23. 11 degrees and sunny in Beijing, highs of 13 and coming down to a low of 0. Paris is experiencing light rain this early Monday morning at 8, highs of 12 and lows of 4. Things cooling down also in London. Clear at 9 degrees, highs of 12 and lows of 7. It's 1 degree and partly cloudy coming into Monday morning in New York. We'll see highs of 10 and lows of -3.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, 16 minutes past 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room this morning. Live streaming on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll shortly be saying hello to those who are already saying hello to us online. Today's proverb, though, before we look at the headlines, there are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. Umeelewa? Umeelewa?
The prettiest flowers have the sharpest thorns.
There are very many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns.
So be careful. Don't just go picking any flower. Okay, you will tell us.
Those sharp ones, those sharp thorns,
Sharp could be a good thing.
represent good flower, pretty flower.
Sharp could also be a good thing. You're relating sharp with that which could cause you pain.
Yep.
But sharp could also be that which is protecting itself from being plucked.
Yep.
Is that all you're going to say?
Yep.
Okay.
Also think about highest risk, high reward. Take a risk to pluck this particular flower and you get the prettiest flower. But the risk is
You could get
thorns.
pricked.
Yes.
Okay.
High risk, high reward. It's the way of life. It's the way of life.
C'est la vie.
Let's take a look at the headlines.
Let's do that.
Yes.
New fuel prices shock Kenyans. That's on the front page of The Nation today. Stress for families. Steep rise in cost of petroleum products announced yesterday will push up the cost of transport, electricity and manufactured goods, adding pain to Kenyans already suffering from the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. Yeah, so we saw that announcement yesterday. And so those fuel prices hit at midnight just about 6 hours ago. To import a litre of petrol from the Middle East and ferry it all the way to Nairobi, oil marketers will only part with 49 shillings and 84 cents. But to buy the same quantity at your nearest pump in the capital, motorists will have to part with 122 shillings and 81 cents. This is 2.4 times the actual landed cost of the commodity before a plethora of punitive taxes, levies and fees punish consumers as the taxman and oil marketers bluff all the way to the bank. This is after the Energy and Regulatory Authority, the energy regulator, increased super petrol by 7.6 shillings per litre, diesel by 5.75 per litre, and kerosene by 5.41 per litre beginning last night. The steep rise, the fourth consecutive increase over the past 4 months, is set to push up the cost of transport, electricity, and manufactured goods. This month's fuel price jump is one of the highest in the last 10 years. Only second to the 2011 review, where petrol retailed at more than 125 litres in Nairobi. The increase will see the government raise billions of shillings in additional taxes, promises to hit motorists the hardest. The increase is just to push up inflation, given that fuel is one of the biggest determinants of the cost of living, as it is used to manufacture goods, generate electricity, and transport people and products. So,
Big joke here. Big joke. So fuel lands at the port in Mombasa at 49.84.
Yes.
Put in everything else. Put in the cost of transporting it in the pipeline. Put in the cost of doing everything else, including giving the fuel marketers their margin. Okay? And all that comes to right about 70 bob. And then the government comes in with 57 bob saying, I want 57 shillings out of this.
Just going straight to the government. Yes.
Who will save us? Who will save us? Because clearly, collecting this much tax per litre of fuel has an impact. But also you have got to look at it from the other side, from the side of those that are in charge of revenue collection and those that are looking at ways in which you can raise revenue. This is a very easy and direct way of raising revenue.
It is.
Okay? It's because fuel will arrive and you already know there's an open tender system. It's structured how fuel is arriving in the country. So there's a very easy way in which you can actually tap this tax. Not much work to be done.
Nope.
Also, you know that fuel is going to be consumed. This amount of fuel has come to the country. This amount of fuel is going to be. This is the demand of fuel in the country. That much clear. So it's a very easy way. It's those low-hanging fruits.
Yep.
People need fuel, so
they're going to buy it either way.
Yes. The question is, must it be this much? Must we really say that our taxes on fuel must be this high? Because that's where now the issue starts coming up of, surely, how do we even justify this? What's that cost? There's road maintenance levy, there's excise duty, there's petroleum regulatory levy, there's railway development levy, there's anti-adulteration levy, merchant shipping levy, import declaration fee, VAT. What?
The levies and the levies and the taxes. Unbelievable. And you know the thing is, you ask it, that's the thing. Fuel is the determining factor in how much a commodity will cost, how much transport will cost, how much electricity will cost. So it's used to manufacture goods, all of these things, to keep the lights on and all of this.
Yep.
It's going to have a direct relation now
Yep.
to the cost of goods that you and I will have to go and buy. Whether you're buying in the supermarket, whether you're transporting yourself across country, whether you're putting on the lights in your house, whatever you're generating for your small business, it is going to affect it. And at the end of the day, this added cost is going to be lumped on the end user.
It's a huge
Are
one.
we
We'll
ready
have
for
this
this?
conversation again in the 7 o'clock hour, trying to get deeper into it and wanting to get your insights as well. And your thoughts about this rising fuel prices, especially looking at how much the tax is on fuel. And then asking ourselves, so where does the tax go? As we continue commemorating 1 year of COVID-19 in the country, today the Standard newspaper is focusing on the impact that COVID has had on the education system. So various stories. Corona has exposed policy gaps in the school system. It's 1 year since the president ordered the closure of learning institutions. What has happened is that now infrastructure improvement was needed. It exposed basically the inequalities in access to education. Because when students were told go home, and we are going to try and see that you can learn from remotely as much as possible, KICD immediately continued with rolling out its radio and TV programs.
Yep.
How many homes have access to radio and TV? That means that those who actually cannot afford a radio, and these are those who are disadvantaged, also did not have access to education. How many had access to internet? Many did not have access to internet. So digital divide adversely affected learning outcomes, and this was clear. If you think about the number of students who've gone back to school and those who had no way of revising at all during that period, and especially now the candidate classes that are going to be sitting exams this week and next week, it was clear that there was big gaps, very big gaps. There's also a story about the universities, and this is a piece written by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, Professor Stephen Kiama, who says, the university's decision to close down following the outbreak of COVID was tough, but what choice did we have? The disease that broke out in Wuhan, China in December 2019 was spreading like wildfire. So the University Senate met on the 16th of March 2020 and decided to close down the university 3 days after the first case of COVID. The following morning, he says he looked through the window of his office and the scene was devastating. The campus was deserted, save for a few security guards. It took time for him to think about the future of the university and the welfare of staff. Initially, most of the staff and students were skeptical of reopening and teaching using online platforms. Mm-hmm. But then there was a lot of resistance, as many people are unwilling to move away from what they know to the unknown under the new normal. The resistance did not last, as innovators across all faculties, schools, centers, and institutes emerged to champion the cause. So he's saying, we learned something out of this, that we needed to move online. Question right now is, how much physical versus online learning is being deployed by the University of Nairobi?
Even now.
Now, today.
Even now. You can't.
Because if you say that you've learned, then how well are you actually pivoting out of this?
Well, a lesson learned is a lesson applied, right? So in as much as you can say that you learned something, then what are you doing with that knowledge that you've recently gotten? And that you would hope that because you've learned something now, that in the application of this knowledge, very, very soon after the learning, that you would start to apply it and say that even some of the lessons today, can we see how we can get those done online? Even after face-to-face learning was reinstituted at the universities across the country, do you still see that practice is then being introduced in some? Are there some classes whereby you can actually have them learning online and not coming to class? It's very possible. But the only way you're going to be able to test this muscle is if you actually use it. It has to be used.
Go ahead and do it.
Yes, just do it. Because this COVID has shown that, you can use, this is an option that you will use. It has also shown you that it will not be the last time where an opportunity like this is going to present itself. So what do you want to do? The tools that you have handy, brush them off and start to use them. So then because if you don't, what will happen? Another opportunity like this, or rather another incident like this arises, you would not have practiced. Meanwhile, you say you learned from the first one that came. Use it now. What are you waiting for? The next thing to happen, then you say, okay, well, let's use this option.
Yeah.
Today, right now, there are some classes that don't have to be in-person learning.
There are a number of classes that, of course, they're running online. The question is, from the university administration standpoint, and in terms of investment, is there a conversation about how much investment universities are going to put onto online learning? Development of those digital platforms where you log on and you're able to then access your learning, where you are able to even apply for university programs and courses and say, this is what I'm applying for. And it's going to be fully 100% online, save for, let's say, 20%, which will require some physical meeting here and there with your lecturers and your fellow classmates, maybe. But what I would be expecting to see is that in the next intakes, maybe even not this year, but the next year's intake would be complete online classes. This University of Nairobi is rolling out this particular class. It's going to be online.
Yeah.
Postgraduate classes online. This has happened for very many years in other countries.
Exactly.
Many people in this country have actually done online education in the postgrad.
Very true.
So this is something that it's a good challenge, but it's exposed a lot of the gaps and the weaknesses from policy to just mental shift in our education sector. And we just hope that, you'll get people who will then take this and champion and say, this is how we're going to do. This is how we're going to change. KICD, this is how we're going to change. Make sure that this curriculum is available not just as revision, but as progression of the syllabus. Because what KICD has is revision. It's by this time you're here, so we are offering you revision classes on this and the other. How about actually teaching?
Right.
Introducing concepts, the next point, online. How about that?
Absolutely. The only way you can tell if you will sink or swim is to jump into the water. So yeah, I think there's some things that can be started now. Start it and then see how it goes. Work out the kinks and then see how you can perfect it over time. I mean, just like you said, people have graduated without ever stepping into the walls of a university.
Yep.
Never even going to that country to see what it is, but they have a certificate. It's been done.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's done, and it's very, very much possible. Time for another break at 6:30. Let's see what's happening on the roads. And as we do that, remember the European Tour has decided to honor Kenya's golfing community with a historic double-decker and double-header in the form of 2 back-to-back international golf tournaments on Kenyan soil. This starts kicking off this week, Thursday, the 18th of March to Sunday, the 21st of March, the magical Kenya Open. And then next week, from Tuesday, will be the Kenya Savannah Classic, the latest addition to the European Tour, which runs from Tuesday 23rd to Friday the 26th. Both of these will be taking place at the current country club. And remember, because of COVID-19 restrictions, you'll not be able to attend and go and watch these tournaments. So this is where the Stranded Group has made sure that you will be able to follow all the golfing action live on KTN News and live streaming on Standard Digital. So from Thursday, the magical Kenya Open on KTN News and KTN Digital platforms. Good morning. Let's see what's happening on the roads.
SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they are getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, the nightmare that is the service lane on Mombasa Road this morning is already giving up those lives today. Trying to get out past the SGR today, and that starts all the way as far back, coming just off of Mlolongo. So that's already a nightmare today. We're going to see heightened traffic this week, guys, as some schools closing and people coming back to and fro the city. So we need to be prepared for that one today. All right, let's look. People are already complaining about transport having increased on certain routes by at least 20 shillings, causing some people to wait it out and see how they're going to be able to move. All right, coming off of Thika Road into the city, it's actually slow right now, not moving very quickly right at the Pangani underpass, but it should be fine. So things are just starting to wake up. The roads are working out the kinks in its neck. Let's see how that opens up in a short while, but it looks like it's going to be a busy Monday morning. Talk to us should you need to. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. We'd like to see what's happening in your area. Let us know if you're stuck anywhere. Let us know what the roads look like, and we can share that information this morning and keep things moving. Text us as well, 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
27 minutes to 7.
Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's look at more headlines.
Okay, so the teachers are getting mass jabs, right? So everybody's prepared for KCSE and KCPE, starting those tests in the next few days. But before that, of course, we're looking at the fact that tutors are to get the jab as KNEC distributes exam papers. Mass COVID-19 vaccination for teachers kicks off today across the country. In a week, we'll also see the KCPE and KCSE question papers distributed to the regions. Head teachers have also hinted at early closure of schools starting today. We know that some schools actually closed last week already. If the government fails to release the 15 billion shillings free education funds in time. So that money still has not come. They're hoping that it happens this week, but head teachers have said, look, we might go ahead and close schools. Those who are not involved in the exams, let them go home. According to the school calendar, all schools are expected to close by Friday, March 19th, to give way for the administration of national examinations to 1.9 million candidates. According to the Kenya School Heads Association Chairman Kahin Demuli, we have not received the money, and principals who have spoken with me say they will start closing school as early as today if the money is not sent to their accounts. So all this business of vaccinating teachers, all good and well and good, and as they prepare for the exams next week. However, we're waiting for money. We've not received it yet, so we're going to go ahead and start closing. Let children go home. Head teachers also said that buying examination materials, especially for practical students, will be a tall order if the government does not release funds. So they needed this for labs and things like that, the practical exams and other things that they require. But the money hasn't come. Cabinet Secretary George Magoha said the money would hit schools' accounts last week. But 10 days later, schools are yet to receive the money. And head teachers say now this will affect preparations for national examinations. Last Thursday, he said we will release the money next week to schools. And therefore, no one should try to cause panic or anxiety. That did not happen yet. The National Examinations Council is expected to send a list of chemicals to be purchased by schools ahead of biology, physics and chemistry practical papers. Our prep toward these examinations will be inadequate if the government fails to release the money in time. Exams start next week, Monday. They need to buy all these materials. In fact, the exam papers will be distributed from next week, Monday, across the country. They need to buy the materials for these practical exams. They don't have the money. Money was supposed to be sent last week, has not been sent. Money then was supposed to be, according to them, they were received by Thursday last week. Didn't happen. So now they've been told it will be released this week.
Wow.
We'll have to wait and see. But this is a big deal if we're going to look at it properly. And we're not just talking about one region. We're talking about countrywide.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's clear that
So, I mean, here you have schools saying that they're going to close. They're not going to be able to keep their students.
Well, they'll not close, that's for sure.
They'll send students home.
They will not close. Schools are closing anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now, instead of sending them home on Friday, they'll send them home on Monday. At least for those who are not supposed to be sitting their exams, right? 4 days won't put too big of a kink in the chain. But the main issue here is that there's certain things that need to be done for exam preparations, which should have actually, if we're going to look at it properly, should have been done a fortnight ago.
There's no money.
Wow. They can't not send money for exams.
Imagine.
I mean,
by the time we get to that point,
about?
By the time we're actually getting to that point, it means that the National Treasury has not maybe released money to the Education Ministry, which has therefore not sent money to the Kenya National Examinations Council, which have not disbursed money to the schools, which is why there's no money.
Today's Monday.
There is no money.
Today's Monday.
There is no money. The National Treasury is basically just playing now with, so many needs. Every waking day, they're told, everybody's right there at the door knocking. I needed money last week for, I need, and they're trying to figure out, so what do we do? I'm sure money will be sent for those exam preparations. The question will be whether it will be adequate. There will be adequate time, and then whether also the school heads can be facilitated. Because you see, that's one thing. If you are sending out the money and saying, all right, you as the district or county official in charge of education, you can help the school heads access this material this way, then it will make it easier. But if it's a school head who's expected to border
and
to go
how
and
many
buy
kilometers to go and buy and then come back,
sodium chloride,
and then he or she is still dealing with issues. Yes, that's salt. Wow.
Yeah.
He or she is still dealing with other administrative issues in school. Those ones have to wait, right? Come on, this archaic. I don't know.
It's gonna
way
be
of doing things.
It's a tough one. It's a really tough one, and that's where the problem comes in. Because you saw the other day when we were talking about the assessments, right? And the teachers had to take borders to go to a cyber cafe
to print,
to download and print exams. Take another boda back to school and use that. Go to that cyber, you find, by the way, leo hakuna stima.
Next it go down.
Yes. Hakuna stima, so hakuna internet. So you have to sit there now, wondering, so what do I do?
And people are waiting to start the exam.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock.
People are waiting.
People are waiting to start the exam.
Yeah.
Lord,
and that whole concept of one government is really, really important, because one government would have ensured that you can use the others. You can use the provincial administration, the Ngao officers to help you. There is a government office somewhere that has access to internet.
Somewhere I want to believe there is. Come on. I want to believe
If
that
it was
there
one
is.
government, you'd not be fearing that if I ask such and such deputy county commissioner to print those materials, they will not leak. Because that's the other thing.
That's another problem, right?
Leakage.
Leakage is a big deal here
Yeah.
when now you're sharing this information across sector. From administration, county commissioner office, school.
Police,
Now-
security, and then headmaster.
It's a dizzy. Yeah, okay.
Challenges.
I pray this money comes in this week.
It
Because
will.
at the end of it will. It might come late. You may not receive everything that you wanted to as because now we're looking countrywide.
Yeah.
That if you were supposed to get 100,000, for example, you might get 80. And then now you have to work within that 80 and do what you can do. But if you look at it, Eric, at the end of the day, if there's something that's lacking, if it's inadequate, and the student then was not able to do 1, 2, 3 in an exam, at the end of the day, it affects the student.
Yes.
It's not the school and the administration, this, that, the other thing. You don't have everything that you need in terms of material for an exam to be done. It affects the student at the end of the day.
Yep. It'll happen. So the Nation has a headline here that the Prime Minister of Tanzania has postponed a visit. And then they bring in, as concerns mount over Magufuli's absence. So several senior government officials have basically stopped moving around their country. And this is also raising now, it's being connected to, so what's happening to Magufuli? The Prime Minister of Tanzania, Kassim Majaliwa, was due to travel to the country's southwestern region from today, but information was sent he was due to a Rungwe district in Mbeya region, but officials announced that he would not visit as planned. Vice President Samia Suluhu last week also cut short a vacation in Zanzibar, her birthplace, and has shuttled between Dar es Salaam and Dodoma. So that is the Vice President, supposed to be heading to Zanzibar for some vacation, stays in Dar es Salaam and Dodoma. This is the Prime Minister who's supposed to be going to Mbeya. He does not go. He still stays also in Dodoma and Dar es Salaam. So the question is, are they doing this because the president is absent? And so where is the president?
That's the question. Where is the president?
So
What's
where is the
wrong?
president?
You know, everybody, we're having this conversation back and forth. What is the problem? Just say, this is where the fellow is. Is he sick or is he not sick? You know what you do is that you shroud it in all this secrecy. Everybody now starts speculating.
They start wondering,
maybe
so
this,
what happened?
Maybe this, maybe this. Whereas you could save yourself this entire headache and just say, okay, he is unwell. He is under medication. He's under treatment. And we will update you. The truth of the matter is that you owe the people an explanation if there's something going on with their leader that they essentially voted into power less than 3 months ago. You owe them the explanation. But then secrecy, is he here? Is he not? Is he in Kenya? Is he not? Is he in India? Is he not? Is he unwell? Is he not? Is he sitting in his home somewhere watching how the country operates if he's quiet for 3 weeks? What is it? You're throwing people into a tailspin. Then people will get in trouble if they start to speculate.
Okay.
What is it?
So, how is this affecting the people?
Everybody wants to know. People
Okay,
are
so how
focusing
is it
on
affecting them?
People are focusing on what they need to be focusing on. Where's their president? Focus on
So
your
somebody
work.
is in Tanzania is not waking up to go to their shamba today because they don't know where Magufuli is.
No, they're waking up, they're going to work, but at the same time they're thinking, engaged in, where could he be? Is it
Umbea.
possible?
Umbea.
Is it possible
This
that he's
is
unwell?
you
Leave it. Then just tell people.
speculate
Then
all
keep
you want.
quiet.
Or maybe this is also a ploy by the president himself and the intelligence to gauge the popularity.
The people really miss him if he's not there. Okay.
Yep. That whole story, by the way, of Nairobi, of India, of all, I'm starting to hold back on that thought. I'm like,
That he was not around here.
Yeah.
That's what we said if.
Yeah.
Remember my if day?
Nairobi, India, and nobody's coming out, not even Tundulisu, who's holed up somewhere in Belgium, who's just throwing in information out there, is able to say anything tangible. Nobody is even saying anything. This man could just be at his home, chilling, and he's told his ministers, you know what, I had a grueling campaign last year.
Let me rest.
I did not rest. I am taking time to rest. Okay? So, I don't have to tell people I've gone on holiday. I don't have to.
Why not? You do. You do. You have to tell them.
You don't have to tell them.
You have to
Does
tell
our
them.
president
The
ever tell us he's gone on holiday?
Yes. When he was going on leave, we heard from State House.
He didn't tell us.
State House gave a notice. They did. It was written.
They didn't tell us.
Who was it
It was
for?
information to government. It was
Somehow-
information to ministers and CSs.
But somebody
That
had
the
to know.
president will,
Abi?
around this time, the president will not be.
And the information was shared. So do you know where he is? He shared it at the end of the day.
Now here, it's just because they're not like us. They don't leak information left, right, and center. Ours was leaked.
But then they know how to
There
keep
was
secrets.
no information from the spokesperson or State House spokesperson saying President Uhuru Kenyatta is going on leave. No. What you saw was Joseph Kenya's circular, which had been leaked. Tanzania, they don't leak information.
Oh, no, so.
Yeah.
Clearly, they don't leak information about anything.
When they swore that oath of secrecy,
They meant what they were saying.
meant what they were saying. Not
even to
like
say
you
what
Kenyans
goes
here.
on.
I swear I'll never say a word. Where?
Did you hear?
I have a word. 14 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It is the Situation Room. Time for us to take another quick break and then we look at other headlines. Good morning.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay, so the president
94.4 Spice FM.
Much expected announcement on Friday. Curfew extended.
For
What
another
else?
60 days. Bars to close at 9 p.m. Worship centers, rather places of worship, should only hold one third their capacity, and even then, anybody who then wanted to attend service needed to register to attend such things.
Right.
Funerals and such needed to be held within 72 hours of death. So within 3 days of death, that funeral needs to be done. It seems as though folks had forgotten now. We're going back to the 2-week period, waiting period, preparation period before funerals. So that had to be set in motion. Political rallies in any way, shape or form banned for 30 days, at least put on hold completely for 30 days. Yeah. So those are some of the things that we saw coming out. And then, of course, there was the encouragement to take the vaccine now that it has come into the country.
Yeah.
Encouraged Kenyans to please, get this done. It lays, again, responsibility then now rests in the hands of Kenyans to say, we are going to actually try and take care of ourselves. At least that's what was coming out from the mouth of the president.
Okay.
In terms of anything earth-shaking or shattering that it's going to say, this is going to change as a result of the statements that were made.
No change.
What? What is it that Kenyans are going to do differently now?
Funerals are going to happen.
Okay, the funerals will
within
happen in 3 days.
And places of worship, people are not going to attend church
Did
in their large numbers.
Did you see church yesterday? I was just telling you, church yesterday was packed to the brim.
How?
Whether you registered or whether you didn't register, when you come to the house of the Lord, they will not turn you away. So everybody who went to church yesterday attended service. I don't know whether it's from next Sunday that they will start checking to see how many people came to church. But church yesterday was packed, my brother.
The sad bit about this is that the people who should be the moral compass, those that should encourage us to actually trust our government and do as the government asks us to do, are the ones who appear not to be thinking about this.
They said that if they
So
go...
I'm sure the mainstream, the way we just divide them, The mainstream churches, the Anglican, Catholic, PCA, and others like that, tried to adhere. You'll find these others, church of whatever tabernacle, are the ones that... For example, I saw a video clip of a church in Mlolongo yesterday, where campaigns for the senatorial by-election
were
in
going
Machakos
on during service.
were going on. Church filled up. The leader of Wiper was there. The vice chairman of Wiper, Senator for Makueni, was there. And you're seeing Kalonzo was seated very close to the people who were next to him.
So they'll say that they were
whole
not
issue
campaigning,
of-
that they were attending a service.
But they were not even observing social distancing in that church.
It's a problem, man.
Because that's one thing you could have said. Okay, so we have come here, yes, and we are still 30% of the capacity of this church, and that's why the social distancing has been observed. Kalonzo sat very close to the people who were next to him, to his right, to his left. In fact, he looked like he's been squashed somewhere. and you just wonder, okay, so now surely people tutafanya nini?
What do you want? What do you want? Or is that, maybe it's
Must
that
police be
thinking that
deployed
it will not
everywhere?
happen to me. That in this space where I am, I can't possibly, and I'll just be here for a short period of time, and then I'm out. That kind of myopic thinking that, perhaps I can just be here really briefly and we'll be all right. Must police be deployed for people to do what they're supposed to do? Must police be deployed to come and instill fear in people to then get them to say, all right, then let me now just, adhere to these rules and these, is that what is necessary? Is it necessary for that to happen?
It didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen. Really, it doesn't have to happen. And just like we were saying, for example, Kalonzo has seen his brother Raila Odinga, right?
Get sick.
Saying, I have tested positive for COVID-19. And he can see clearly the places where Raila had been the previous 7 days was in such gatherings. And here you are as Kalonzo Musyoka. You know you're in that age bracket and you're just sitting there next to somebody and you'll come out and you'll shake hands.
Can't
Really,
miss out on
that
a moment
is
to campaign.
irresponsible of Kalonzo. I think that was irresponsible of Kalonzo. Anybody else, everybody was wrong in that particular service. Even the leadership of the church was wrong. But for a leader like Kalonzo Musyoka, I think that was wrong. That was a bad example for him to do.
Not less than 3 days after the president made
It's
the announcement.
about your
that
own
he
life,
did.
man.
Yeah. The president made an announcement on Friday. Here you are on Sunday frolicking about in places of worship. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. And for Kalonzo, he's endangering his close family members as well. That was wrong. That was wrong of Kalonzo. Kenya is withdrawing from the Somalia border row case.
Okay.
Drama upon drama. So there's this case that's happening at the International Court of Justice, right? In The Hague. Case was supposed to commence resume, but the Kenyan government, which has objected to virtual proceedings, is asking the court to allow AG Kihara Kariuki a 30-minute address to express its displeasure with the court's conduct before public hearings in the Indian Ocean boundary dispute between the neighboring countries begin today. In a dramatic escalation of Kenya's relations with the ICJ, which is reminiscent of its fallout with the ICC years back when Kenyan leaders were on trial, the government has vowed complete divorce with the Hague-based court if its grievances are not addressed today. Whether they refuse to admit the request or grant it, we have reached tipping point, a point of no return. If you like, the irreducible minimum is for us to be granted time to complete our preparations with our new defense team and to present our case in normal conditions of physical appearance where we can put across our case without hindrance. A token cosmetic appearance will not do it for Kenya. This is a highly placed Kenyan official who was telling the nation that has published this story on the back page today. So Kenya says, we got a new legal team into this case. And this legal team is from some Europeans and some Americans with one Kenyan. These guys, because of COVID restrictions, have not been able to sit together to prepare for this case.
Right.
Now, the court is telling us, join virtually and let's continue. And Kenya is saying, no, we do not want to join virtually to continue. We want to be present. We first of all want extension so our defense team can prepare
themselves.
And then we come physically to the court. We don't mind coming physically to the court. ICJ has said, here's a link.
Join.
Today, Kihara Kariuki, the Attorney General, wants to be given some 30 minutes to speak to the judges and tell them, you guys,
tumia hii.
Kama mtuwezi kutumia hii, sisi hatuko kwa hiyo kesi. mtumie hii.
That's what's going to happen.
Yes.
So now the row then takes the row between Kenya and Somalia just takes a seat over here.
Yes.
And now we start to deal with the mechanics of the entire case and say, what are we doing here? So now there are two rows within one. This is going to be very interesting to watch and see how now this opens up.
But I wonder how we got here. How do we get to a point where, Kenya was picking up its defense team just 18 months ago? Why? Why? I know for a fact that there's a department in government that deals with maritime issues and maritime disputes.
Yes.
This team has been there for years. I know this for a fact. And it's clear. It's in government records. These guys knew about this dispute long time ago.
Didn't
Is
prepare
it that
for
they
it.
were not preparing for
Never
it?
thought it would. The thing is, unfortunately, never thought that it would get to this stage. It would never have gotten to the part where it's presented before this global court. In their minds, we'll figure it out as we go along. Then you realize, hold on a minute, summons have been presented. Okay, let's get our ducks in a row. Meanwhile, people have already landed at The Hague. You want to get your ducks in a row now?
People are playing their cards very well, and here you are. You're just getting caught flat-footed, left, right, and center. So let's see, is this a delay tactic by the Kenyan government, or is it a strategic move by the Kenyan government?
Well,
or are we just caught flat-footed?
Yes. Okay, so really quickly.
Right.
Farmers are protesting the move to reverse the maize imports ban. The government has come under sharp criticism from North Rift cereal farmers for backtracking on its decision to ban maize imports from Tanzania and Uganda. The farmers lamented that the maize imports will flood local markets, interfering with prices. According to the Kenya Farmers Association Director Kipkorir Menjo, the maize imports have increased, which is unusual. The farmers have also raised concern over increasing price of fertilizer, which has contributed to the high cost of production. They said they had been incurring huge losses, especially when there is no available market for their produce. We just talked about this a couple of days ago, and we're looking at this happening now, that farmers are still complaining. The reversal on that decision to stop imports from other countries is affecting them. The high price of fertilizer and other inputs still continues to affect them. So you can imagine, they spend so much money on this harvest, and then still you cannot sell it because there's cheaper maize in the market. And this is all happening while, guess what? The National Cereals and Produce Board is risking auction over a 7.3 billion shilling debt. So all these things are nicely happening at the same time. Yeah.
Auction it.
They're disturbing us.
Yeah. They're telling us.
They're cash starved. They had a loan they can't pay. Many
all
things
these
are happening.
as reforms in that sector are actually being rolled out. So it's one step here, a side step there, some backward step on the other side, and it's just not clear the direction that we're taking.
Nope.
Okay, so in the next hour we talk about fuel and the rising fuel prices and the impact that this is likely to have on very many other sectors of the economy and your life as a whole. Keep it right here. As we do that, let me remind you about the golfing tournaments that are coming up this week and next week. So from Thursday this week, the 18th of March to Sunday the 21st of March, we're going to have the Magical Kenya Open happening at the Karen Country Club. Okay? And then, so that ends on Sunday. On Tuesday, we have another European tour that kicks off again at the same venue. And this is Tuesday the 23rd to the 26th on Friday at the same venue. And this will be the Kenya Savannah Classic. Both these tournaments are basically European Tour certified tournaments. Each of them with a prize money of €1 million in cash to the winners. These are going to be happening in these two venues, and I mean in this one venue, in these two separate events. But here's the thing. Because of COVID-19 now, the European Tour and, of course, the government of Kenya says this thing has to happen within a bubble so that only the players and their crew are able to interact. Public participants not allowed. So now, because we are not going to have any spectators into this field, this is where KTN comes in. And KTN News will be live streaming these tournaments live from the Current Country Club from this Thursday up to Sunday, and then the other one from Tuesday up to Friday, and also on the standard digital platforms. Same will be happening. Standard digital platform and KTN Home keep it right here because this is the reason why the Standard Group has basically decided to team up with those who are organizing it. Good morning. It's 7 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Spice FM, Nakuru. Traffic.
Okay, so Thika Road, the traffic starts as far back as GCM today and it's moving very, very slowly trying to get into the CBD. The service lanes and the main highway are having these problems today. It doesn't look pretty good. It's going to be packed. Mombasa Road is not moving. Reaching Cabanas from Mlolongo takes you the same time that it would to get to Naivasha. Seriously, to get to Naivasha this morning, it takes you the same time between the SGR and Cabanas today. All right, so that is already slowing things down on Mombasa Road in and outbound. Today it's going to take some time to get out of this one. So Monday morning has just begun on the roads. It looks like it's going to be crazy. Getting off of Mombasa Road then at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout is also slow getting into the CBD, then out through towards Westlands. Coming out of Westlands into the CBD is looking like it's going to be slow as well. So let's keep an eye on things and see how they move. The Pangani Tunnel moving along very slowly. Kiambu Road already packed from what we are seeing so far. All right, guys, let's hang tight. It's just begun. We'll see what it looks like in a short while. But be patient through it all and try to be careful. Let's talk in a minute. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there if anything comes out at you because of traffic. Text us as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, it's 2.5 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's The Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the second hour of the show. We have this show every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. In the room with you this morning is Eric Latif and Ndu Oko. City Muga is away. He's sitting somewhere. He's watching us, by the way, and he has his feet up. City, we feel you.
We see you.
Yeah. Kabisa. So, as we begin this conversation in this hour, we also want to welcome our audience on KTN Home, who will be with us from now until 9 a.m. This is how you get your radio experience on TV. So welcome and a very good morning to you on KTN Home. We're also live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter, in addition to broadcasting the show on radio, wherever you are. If you're in Nairobi, it's 94.4. 87.9 in Mombasa. Kisumu is 102.5, and that goes all the way up to the Nandi Hills, where I can see Jonathan Kadenge is tuned in this morning. Nakuru 96.0, 96.7 in Eldoret. Nyeri is 90.9, and Malindi 97.7. Let's begin the hour with today's proverb. It's an African proverb, and it says, "There are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns." Very many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. Now, before we look at the headlines, I've seen Jonathan Kadenge is online, and there's somebody else who is also online. You want to say hello to them?
All right, so Victor Kipkorir, good morning. He says he's tuned in from County 035. City would know where that was.
Yeah.
And also tuned in from 043 in Akubaland. is Reagan Nyandinga Jr. Do you know where that is, Eric? Help us.
Yeah, it's in Nakubaland.
Okay.
Yeah.
My son was listening, according to Enrica Gwanda. Lawrence Carrier is tuned in and says, Happy New Week, friends. Tuning in from Merrill County. Need some clarity on these fuel hike issues. Already tears this morning. We're going to go into that in just a bit. Koriot Nandi County is where Laban Tanui Kaptel is tuned in from. Charity Minor is tuned in from Milimani in Nakuru. Mwanaharakati tuned in from Linda Kibra this morning, and Alexander Mwanzi is tuned in from Nairobi. Good morning, everybody. We're kicking things off in the Situation Room this morning.
So Mwanaharakati is Mwanaharakati of what?
Mkoya Aiwa.
Yeah.
Mwanaharakati means?
Ask him.
Mwanaharakati? What does Mwanaharakati mean?
Yes. Mwanaharakati ni nani? Mwanaharakati ni activists.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a word for it, eh?
Yes.
Okay, voila.
Yes. So, today, okay, let's start with yesterday. Yesterday, as the law requires, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority announced the fuel prices that are going to be in effect from today for the next 30 days until the 14th of April, 2021. And they have even put in a public notice out in the papers today pursuant to Section 101Y of the Petroleum Act number 2 of 2019, Legal Notice number 196 of 2010, Legal Notice number 26 of 2012. EPR has calculated the maximum wholesale and retail petroleum prices, which will be in force from the 15th of March to the 14th of April. And they go in and say, this is how much you're going to pay. People in Mombasa, you're going to pay for a litre of super petrol, 120 and 41 cents. Diesel, 105 and 27 cents. Kerosene, 95 and 46 cents. Goes on like that until where we look at which is going to be the most expensive in the country is going to be Eldoret. So Eldoret here has 123 and 36 cents for super petrol, 108 and 46 cents for diesel, 98 and 68 cents for kerosene. But Kilgoris is going to be 124 and 74 cents for super petrol, 109 and 85 cents for diesel, and 100 bob for kerosene. Why? Because of the various factors that have been put in. And they say, so they consider the landing cost, they consider all the other factors that go in, and then they look at taxes and levies, and they say, so therefore, those three dots, therefore, fuel price is equals. They give us those figures. Yes? And now that's when you get to know this is how much it's going to cost us. Questions, though. The last month, fuel prices went up.
Yes.
This month, fuel prices have gone up. And then you start to ask yourself, but why? Why are the fuel prices going up again, and why at this particular rate? The EPRA actually comes up with very many reasons. They take into account the weighted average cost of imported refined petroleum products. Charges in the maximum allowed petroleum pump prices are then calculated. The prices are inclusive of 8% of VAT, in line with the provisions of the Finance Act. And they also look at the landed cost of super petrol increasing by 14.97% from $391 per cubic meter to $449 per cubic meter in February 2021. Diesel also increased, and kerosene as well increased. So because these ones went up, the free on board Merban crude oil lifted in February was posted at 61 per barrel, an increase of 11%. On the same period, the mean monthly US dollar to Kenya shilling exchange rate appreciated by 0.2% from 109.89 per dollar per dollar to a shilling to 109.67. So all these factors are what the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory says. We put them into the formula, and this formula is clearly agreed and gazetted. And once we do the calculations, this is what you get. Now, here are the things. Let me just go into that particular table that's very interesting, where they show you the breakdown of costs of super petrol, diesel, and kerosene in Nairobi from the 15th of March. So they say the landed cost of diesel in Mombasa, of super petrol rather, is 49 shillings and 84 cents. That is cost in Mombasa. Remember, you're going to buy it 122 here in Nairobi. So wait for that 80 bob. See where the 80 bob comes in. Then the other things that they've got to factor in. Pipeline transport from Mombasa to Nairobi, 2 shillings and 16 cents. Road transport from Mombasa and bridging is 0 because it's all coming from Mombasa to Nairobi via pipeline. If you look at pipeline losses, 0.06 shillings.
So losses factored in.
Yep.
There. Okay.
Then you also look at depot losses, 0.49. They also factor that in. And these losses are because, this thing will evaporate. Look at...
So there could be a leak, a drip here. And
yes.
there. Right.
And you're talking about it's going to evaporate at some point. There's going to be some loss on the way. Delivery within 40 kilometers of Nairobi, 54 cents. So storage and distribution, which is now that part B, is 3 shillings and 25 cents. All those things I've talked about, from the point that fuel is put into the pipeline from Mombasa to Nairobi and then delivered to a petrol station within 40 kilometers of Nairobi, it's going to cost an extra 3 shillings and 25 cents a litre. Okay? Then importers are also allowed to have a margin, and there's a maximum margin, which is going to be 4 shillings and 20 cents. Then dealers are given their own margin. If it's retail is 4.05, and retail operating margin at 4 shillings and 14 cents. So oil marketing companies' margin in total is 12 shillings and 39 cents. So far, we together.
Yes.
So 49.84 landed. Bring it to Nairobi, cost of fuel, of pipeline and losses and all, 3 shillings and 25 cents. Then give the marketers their margins, because these are the people who've brought in to your petrol station. 12 bob and 39 cents, that's their margin. Now we come to number D. And number D is going to be taxes and levies. Excise duty, 21 shillings and 95 cents. Road maintenance levy, 18 shillings. Petroleum development levy, 5 shillings and 40 cents. Petroleum regulatory levy, 25 cents. Railway development levy, 95 cents. Anti-adulteration levy, for Nairobi you don't pay anything. Merchant shipping levy, 0.03 shillings. Import declaration fee, 1 shilling and 65 cents. VAT, 9 shillings and 10 cents. And this is at 8% VAT. So if you do all those, it means that the government, for taxes and levies, is going to get 57 shillings and 33 cents. It arrived there, it was 49. You brought it to Nairobi, you added 3 bob. So it came to 52. Then you gave the fuel merchants their margins at 12.
Yeah.
It came to what? 60 something.
67.
Government comes in with 57, 33. That is a tax.
Poof.
So fuel, a litre of fuel, of petrol in Nairobi, super petrol, is going to be 122 shillings and 81 cents for the next 1 month. Nimeachia hapo.
Okay.
Digest.
So on the 14th of February, right? Fuel prices actually increased. I can actually say fuel crisis also increased. That's okay. The prices increased, I think it was between 3 to 4 shillings over and above what was being paid at that point, right? So now we have an increase of almost 8 shillings on top of that. We saw the effects within the month of in the month of February after the fuel prices increased. We didn't see so much
up to yesterday.
We didn't see so much on transport, but we did see quite some on manufactured goods, such as foods and manufactured goods, foods that you get off the shelf, right? We also saw a very little bit in electricity. Many would say it was a marginal increase, but then if you look at that increase across board, it was actually then, quite something. We're looking at double that number now. In as much as I understand that taxes then must be gotten, and there are ways in which the government actually then make its money on a commodity such as this, which at the end of the day must be used, I can understand this. But is it absolutely necessary for it to be so high? Because if you want to look at those numbers that you've calculated for us now, the taxes and the levies are much more, as a whole, they cost more than the commodity itself landed at Mombasa.
Yep. And brought to Nairobi.
It costs more for the levies and the taxes to be instituted than the commodity itself. And I think once you start to look at that, that's when you see the problem. Because all of these things that you're talking about, in as much as they're necessary, petroleum regulatory levy, petroleum development levy, road maintenance levy, excise duty, anti-adult, all these things, it's just Greek to the people who might be able to see them. Greek, absolutely. At the end of the day, they want to know, I'm going to go to the pump and how much am I going to have to pay for it? But it's not just that. Because if you look at the effect that it has on everything else in society, that's when you have a problem. So the person who goes to buy a bottle of oil in the supermarket today has to spend a little bit more than they would than the last time they bought it. Those are some of the things that we are seeing. That you buy your units of electricity for 100 shillings and then you used to get 9.2 units or rather 4.5 units or something like that. But then this month, you're getting 4.1. That's the thing that we're talking about. That you're going to get on a matatu and instead of spending, we're already seeing it today, instead of spending 80 shillings, you're going to spend 100 shillings. These are the effects that we are seeing. Is it not possible, absolutely possible, to buffer the people against whatever hits the market might take, whatever tax you know that you must bring? Is it possible to buffer people? Is it possible to, because it's, at the end of the day, it's not IPRA, it's not government, it's the people who are going to have to pay for this. Is it not possible to, because when you talk about IPRA has looked at all the factors, all the determinating factors for this, and said, because we have taken 1, 2, 3 into consideration, that is how we have come about at this average. Is it not possible to do the flip side? And as rudimentary as it may sound, is it not possible to look at the flip side and say, if we raise this thing by this much, how much more will the people of this country have to suffer if we do it this way?
Yeah.
Is it not possible for us to look at this thing properly? Because it is government. We can't talk about regulation and then say that government is not involved. Is it not possible to say that folks have taken a hard hit already in the last 12 months? As we look at these things now moving forward, is it not possible for us to tweak things a little bit so that folks are not going to have to take a harder hit yet again? Because we're looking at numbers that have not been noticed or recognized in the last 10 years. This is the second highest number having been realized since 2011. Does it have to be so high? And I think that is what Kenyans are going to be crying about. That things are going to come about and the government is not even able to protect you against some of these high prices.
It gets to a point where, okay, so the mandarins of the National Treasury will say, look, we need to raise revenue in order to finance government operations and development projects. We need to do this. And one of the surest and easiest ways of raising revenue is using fuel. Because one, it's very well regulated. Fuel arrives at the port of Mombasa. It's very clear where it's going after that. So it's very easy for us to actually tap this revenue. So it's low-hanging fruits. Also, they'll argue and say, for example, the petroleum development levy and the road maintenance levy are going directly into maintenance of roads. So this is infrastructure.
But is it?
That's the argument that you'll have. All right. This is the reason why we come up with this levy. We removed something called the road license on motor vehicles and came up with a road maintenance levy. And the reason why we had those two was to look at, once we build a road, who maintains this road and how do we finance the maintenance of this road comes in. They'll argue that way. The other argument that will be preferred by those who talk about it, they'll say, the bigger impact on the economy comes in transport and energy, cooking energy. Super petrol is different, even in terms of pricing and in terms of levying, from diesel. Diesel, which is used by the major transport companies, if you look at how much they've landed cost for diesel is 46.82 and the tax here is 45.47. So in terms of percentages, you can say that tax for diesel is less than 50%. If you can't compare that with tax for super petrol, which is about 60%. The same thing you can argue about kerosene. They'll tell you kerosene lands at the port of Mombasa at 42.96, and the only tax that we are getting is 39.55 from a litre of kerosene. So you see the percentage in terms of how much we are levying for diesel and kerosene is lower than the percentage of the tax and levies that we are getting from super petrol.
Understood.
So we have taken care of the lower end of the economy. those who use kerosene for cooking, and those who use diesel, because diesel is used in manufacturing, diesel is used in transporting goods that have been manufactured to the market, diesel is used for transporting people.
Eric, of those three commodities of petrol, diesel, and kerosene, which is the most used?
Diesel.
Diesel is the most used,
yes,
right?
Because you can argue that. We can say, look at the buses, they use diesel.
The trucks.
Matatus use diesel. Trucks that transport commodities from farm to market, from factory to market, use diesel.
They use diesel. However, the prices that we've seen that diesel has been increased by, knowing full well that argument that you're giving is of course the lower end and the one that is used the most, we've not really added so much in terms of compared to what we've added on super petrol, for example. However, the most people are using this commodity, and you've doubled it from what it was the last month, has increased by 2.4 across board on this commodity that is being used. So the money that is coming in is double that which was coming in last month. Whether you increase it by 10 shillings or 100, the point is that there is an increase on what people were already struggling with before. But because you know, just the same reasons that they would give on this side are the same reasons that people would use to counter it. Because you are very well aware that people cannot do without this commodity. It should be a reason to say everybody is going to purchase this commodity. You're going to make money from it anyway. Is it not possible to regulate it in such a manner that you can make from it? Because we understand that it's one of your golden tickets in terms of bringing in money for the government. Is it not possible to do it in such a way that you make your money, but at the same time, people don't have to suffer for it? Because let's be honest, people are crying for it already. It's 7 hours past midnight.
Remember, there was the tax on fuel had been zero rated. That's VAT. And then there was all this pressure coming in from our financial lenders, pressure coming in from the Bretton Woods institutions and saying, come on, people, this is one easy way of getting revenue. How can you not have VAT on fuel? Pressure forced the government to go back to Parliament and say, let's introduce VAT. Discussions, debates back and forth in Parliament about reintroduction of VAT, up to the point where they reached a compromise and said, let's not bring it back at 16%, let's bring it back at 8%, but at least let's have VAT. So with that, that's why out of every 122 shillings that you pay at the pump for super petrol,
9.10 for
9 shillings and 10 cents is VAT, at 8%.
Which is all right. But however, the question that I continually ask, the pressure that comes from outside to do things, over whom are you ruling? Over whom do you have an authority? The pressure that comes from outside. Would you rather have the pressure from inside that causes then a state of things to implode, whereby people are not able to afford the very country that they live in? Because that's what the nitty-gritty, aside from all the financial talk and numbers and big words that we're going to use to describe this thing, Kenyans cannot afford Kenya.
Kenyans cannot afford Kenya.
Kenyans cannot afford to live here. People are getting along by the skin of their teeth, if we want to be honest. The very minimal percentage of people are the ones who are able to get by without a complaint. As it was, come the 15th of March, it's a totally different situation. You're going to have to pay more. Eric, there's no two ways about it.
Someone can argue against that and say, you know what?
There's no two ways about it.
With
You're
the
going
price
to have
of fuel
to
as
pay
it
more
was
for
last
life.
month, did we see a reduction in economic activity in the last 1 month?
Because people have to survive, but it doesn't mean that it is comfortable.
So
this is the point that I'm trying to make, is that because it is a commodity that is needed across board, it's not something like you used to have meat and then you can do without meat. You still have to move. You still have to have the lights on. You still have to have the power to be able to manufacture goods. If you go and look at the books of businesses over the last 3 months and see their inputs vis-a-vis what they've been able to get, it's a crying situation. People are not able, in terms of their profits, to make what they were making even 6 months ago. Now here we are saying, even with that, as difficult as it was, guess what? You're going to have to pay a little bit more to be able to keep this thing running. Where are we going? And that is one of the jobs of government, is to continue to make it conducive for people to be able to do business within the country. Not outside, not on a global scale, within the country. And one of the main determinants of this, they've told us, is fuel across board. So are we making it more comfortable? Are we making it more conducive? Like I said, it could sound like a simple argument, but some of these things really are simple in my thinking, that you actually can make it a little bit better for your people to do business. In Nigeria, fuel was raised the other day to 212 naira per litre. That's an equivalent of about 70 shillings. 70 shillings per litre is what fuel is going for right now in Nigeria. It is 2 times as high as it should be. As it should be. Subsidy, no subsidy.
It should be what? It should be 30 bob?
Fuel, to be honest, right now in Nigeria should be about 25 shillings. Equivalent of 25 shillings. It is going for the equivalent of about 73 shillings. It should not be the case. It should not be the case. And what are people crying about? Not that you should just reduce the prices because you can, but to look at the regulations through which you can operate and say, all right, we can make things a little bit better. Can government make some money here? Absolutely. Can we get something from taxes here? Absolutely. From the levies and taxes then that you're going to apply. Is it possible to do something? Yes, we can. And the people can still do business and contribute to the economy where you as government will still continue to benefit. It can be done. But unfortunately, we keep wrapping this thing in big English too much. We keep talking about, look at all these levies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we tell people, then we slap VAT on top of all of that, wrap it in a sandwich and we give it to the Kenyans and then we say, here, eat. People don't understand what half of this thing for. At the end of the day, what do they understand? We're paying more for life.
And tomato and a very nice,
paying more for life.
It's a beautiful sandwich that you're giving people. Look at that. Excise duty. Only 21 shillings and 95 cents
the sandwich
that you're paying, which is just about double what the fuel companies are making.
As we say, then they chop the bread, they're not a belly full.
And what is belly full?
They're not full.
Oh,
you're eating bread and you can be eating cassava.
Full.
Come on.
Okay. Let's take a break at this point and then we want to hear from you. So, price of super petrol, diesel and kerosene is going up from midnight. Has already gone up from midnight. And this is the price that's going to be there for the next 1 month. A litre of super petrol in Nairobi is going to be at 122 and 81 cents. Diesel, 107 and 66. Kerosene at 97 and 85. And this is because the tax for each of those is how much? So super petrol, tax, 57 shillings and 33 cents.
Diesel, out of the 122 you're paying, 57 goes to tax.
57 is tax. Out of 107 shillings for diesel, 45 shillings is tax. Out of almost, let's just say 100 shillings for a litre of kerosene, 40 bob
going to tax.
Is tax. Is this fair? Does it make sense to you as a citizen, as the one who's going to be paying this at the pump? 0719-012-600. We'll be taking your calls shortly after this break. But as we go into the break, let's remind you about the Magical Kenya Open and the Kenya-Savannah Classic. 2 golf tournaments that are part of the European tour that are happening in Kenya back-to-back this and next week. So from this week on Thursday the 18th to Sunday the 21st, the Magical Kenya Open takes place at the Current Country Club. And then from next week, Tuesday, the 23rd to Friday, the 26th, the Kenya-Savannah Classic takes place. Same venue, Current Country Club. Now, because of COVID-19 restrictions, spectators are not allowed into this venue. So it's only the players and their staff and their crew that are going to be in the venue. So for you and I who love golf and we want to follow this tournament, KTN News is a platform, or Standard Digital is a platform as well to watch. So this will be live streamed on KTN News and on Standard Digital from Thursday the 18th to Sunday the 21st for the Magical Kenya Open, and then again from Tuesday the 23rd to Friday the 26th for the Kenya-Savannah Classic. Keep it right here. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room. Spice up your life.
All right, mostly sunny conditions is what we'll see in Nairobi today, going to highs of 28. 26 will be the high in Nyeri. It's mostly sunny right now at 13. Nakuru is sunny at 17, going to highs of 29. 26 will be the high in Eldoret, 15 degrees and sunny right now. Sunny conditions in Kisumu at 21, highs of 31. And highs of 32 in Kakamega. It's mostly sunny now at 15. We're looking at partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 26, highs of 32. Highs of 32 also in Malindi. Partly sunny right now at 27. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 20, highs of 29 and lows of 18, where it's mostly sunny in Dar es Salaam at 25, highs of 33, highs of 25 in Johannesburg, coming down to lows of 15 today. Mostly clear conditions now in Lagos. The rain seems to have stopped for now, at least. Highs of 32 and lows of 27, and it's now raining in Kinshasa at 23. We'll see highs of 31 coming back down to lows of 23.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM.
All right, so still some traffic on Mombasa Road today. Absolutely. There is still an issue coming off of Thika Road as well. Everybody's complaining about those fuel prices this morning, and transport seems to be a little bit more expensive today by at least 20 shillings. There's some fog on some parts of Mombasa Road further down coming through, but it shouldn't be so bad. Mombasa Road, you're asking what it is? All the way from the SGR today, leading through to Nyayo Stadium. Very, very slow today, Monday. Everybody's out. Many things to do this week. All right, Kiambu Road, bumper to bumper. We're now at 6 lanes. Everybody's, driving through the thicket to try and get to Thika Road, but it's very, very slow. In some parts, the train is not there, so you have to use other forms of transport this morning. I'm very sorry. We'll keep taking a look at what it is like. Did you carry cash to the ferry this morning? I'm sorry, but it's going to be a bit difficult. Find somebody to log your M-Pesa onto, because that's the only way you'll be able to use one of the 4 ferries that's up at Ntongwe and Likoni channels this morning. All right, let's take a look at how things change in a minute. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text us on 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 28 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on Spice FM, online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, and also on KTN Home. This is your radio experience on TV. So what we're discussing this hour is the rise in fuel prices across the country from midnight, and this has gone up by a couple of shillings. Just looking at the price of super petrol in Nairobi, the price of super petrol in Nairobi is going to be 122 shillings and 81 cents for the next 30 days until the 14th day of April, 107 shillings and 66 cents for diesel, and kerosene 97 shillings and 85 cents. So basically, you're going to buy mafuta for what? For cooking or for lighting?
Yes.
100 shillings per litre. 100 bob per litre. So if you say that you're even looking at the marginalized or the bottom of the pyramid, those that would look at how much the cost of life is, 100 shillings for energy is a very, very high price to pay.
Yes, it is, because you're essentially going to use it for like you say, lighting and cooking. And it's going to take you, just looking at some numbers now, if you're breaking it down, that 100 shillings, 100 shillings whereby a family of 4, and just putting on the lower side, right? A family of 4, mother, father, 2 children, is going to have to use 100 shillings. They'll only use it for 2 days if they are lighting and if they're cooking. 2 days. So every 2 days, you will spend 100 shillings on energy. Now, this other 100 shillings that you have, hopefully, you will not use it on transport, because the likelihood of you walking from area to area is very high. Yeah. You're probably walking to work and you're using 20 shillings at most for transport. The other 100 shillings, you're breaking it down for a meal per day. Right? So now that's your unga, that's your vegetables, that's your oil, because we have people buying in the small packets.
It's a Kadogo economy everywhere.
Right. Small packet economy is what people are doing.
Even this mafuta, you'll basically look at and see. If you're buying and you only have so much, you'll buy half a liter. Just for the day's cooking.
You'll do it for the day.
50 bob, no mafuta. And that is for lighting and cooking.
Now, remember
and then
this.
you have another 50 bob that now you think of how to buy the food for the day.
Exactly. Because you're buying 10 shillings for oil,
and out
10
of
shillings
that,
for a veg. Yeah.
Out of that 50 bob that you've spent to buy fuel, 20 bob has gone to the government as tax. What on earth is that?
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. That we're basically stripping Kenyans of the opportunity to be able to even survive. The survival at what we're looking, because people will say we're being dramatic, but I think sometimes you got to be just a little bit dramatic for people to understand exactly what is going on. For every 200 shillings that somebody might have in a day to use, a certain percentage of that has already gone to the government before they've even touched it.
Yep.
All right. Then we're talking about survival for the day. So you have your 160 shillings upon which you need to live for yourself and your 2 children, 4 of you. We have not talked about anything else. We've talked about energy and food. You've not gone anywhere.
When you buy food, there's still VAT.
Yes.
All right. Whatever else you're going to buy, there's going to be some element of tax as well. So for this 200 bob that you have, the government is probably going to take about 80 shillings. Because we know if this 200 bob you decided to buy a liter of kerosene, 40 bob is going to the government. In that liter of kerosene, you're left with 160. Go buy food. VAT here, VAT there, VAT there, VAT the other. Some other 20 bob or so goes to government. You are basically left with 140 bob. That's what you have.
Yeah.
You don't have 200.
And for the day, right? As painful as it is even to live in the realities of this, I think it is absolutely important for people to understand really then where your money goes in terms of now what happens during taxes. These numbers that we are looking at, as alarming as they are and crazy as it seems in terms of what is going towards tax, I think it is very important also for you then in the decisions that you're then making in the future, right? For you to understand, all right, under whose leadership then would it be possible where decisions are made where the people are protected? And when I'm not talking about protected from danger, I'm talking about being protected in so that you're then able to thrive and not survive, right? Which decisions then will be made for me to understand? If currently, with how difficult it is for me to get my hands on that 200 shillings, and before I've even spent it, some of it has already gone, I can count it as gone. For me to really understand what it means to be able to live here on an economic standard, in economic standards in this country, what does it mean when you say that the government is actually making life a little bit better for you? Remember, you're living on a prayer that you don't get sick.
Yep.
That where you are working is within close proximity to where you reside.
Yep.
Maybe you don't have school-going children where you don't now have to add anything for their upkeep and clothing and schooling.
Yep.
This is just energy and food. You've not done anything else.
And so let's look at now, when you say it that way, let's look at where the money that you're actually paying for tax goes to. Because if where you live, you don't have a nearby public health facility, it means that the cost of healthcare is expensive. Where you live, you don't have piped water, obviously. So that means that you are going to find ways of buying water. And my friend, that water is really expensive. When you start paying 50 shillings for a 20-litre jerry can, that is very expensive water. Where you live, obviously you don't have electricity. That's why you're buying kerosene for lighting, okay? Then also where you live, there's no proper public school. So you're taking your children, especially those in ECD, to some private school there for kindergarten. And when they finish, they look for the nearest school as well that is going to accommodate them for primary. If there's no nearby public primary school, or there's no space in the nearby public primary school, you'll take them to the nearest private schools.
Right.
You will pay something. So you're paying for healthcare, you're paying for water, you're paying for school for your children, you're paying for all these things, and you've given government 40 shillings out of just that liter of fuel. And it was supposed to, this one, because it's kerosene, it does not have road maintenance levy. Okay, it is 0. It has excise duty of 11 shillings and 37 cents. It has anti-adulteration levy. This one is one where anti-adulteration levy comes in 18 shillings. And you can hear the argument from those who understand this. The anti-adulteration levy was introduced because some unscrupulous fuel marketers would then go and take petrol and buy kerosene
And mix.
because kerosene is cheaper. They still have the same volume, but they are selling you petrol. So they've adulterated your fuel, your petrol or diesel, by adding. So that's why they're making anti-adulteration levy 18 bob. Look at import declaration fee, 1 shillings and 43 cents, and VAT of 7 shillings and 25 cents for that 1 litre of kerosene. What else is the government doing for you? As the person who's buying kerosene on a daily basis for energy, cooking and lighting.
And that's what I'm saying, and I think it's a be aware moment, right? This is what I'm talking about right now. And I'm going to say this. I do not have a problem with these prices if these levies that we are looking at actually turn into existence, become a reality. If we had roads that were spick and span, if anybody living in what area had a health facility whereby they could go to and access affordable, not just healthcare, affordable healthcare, that money that you have in your pocket or that coverage that you receive for health insurance could actually do something for you, I have no problem. If you were able to then get on public transport that you could afford to and fro your place of work, I would have no problem. If all these levies translated to an affordable reality for Kenya, imagine I have no problem.
You'd be easy.
Tax it to 60% if you like. But let the end result show for what is being put in. That's my problem. And then also it's a be awake moment for Kenyans to realize right now that all these things you're being charged for and they're telling you that it's actually going to happen, unfortunately, is not happening to the letter. The way, when you see this nice chart, like this, the way it looks very nice, all the numbers are adding up.
Yep.
It would be very nice if the end result was adding up like that. Then I would have no problem. But unfortunately, the lines on the other side of the equation are not as neatly drawn out as
The input here is very clearly indicated.
Yes.
The output
is
grey.
Somewhere up
is
there,
grey.
amorphous.
If you look at the kind of projects that the Nairobi Metropolitan Service has been undertaking in the last 1 year, right? That is putting up health facilities around Nairobi, 17 health facilities, is it? It tells you that this is something that could be done.
Can happen.
That you can actually ensure that people have access to health. You can ensure that people have access to water, because people are buying water in this city and they shouldn't be buying water in this city, not at the prices that they're buying water for.
What was the shock when General Mbadi now literally opened taps in some areas where people, grown men like yourself, had never opened a tap since when they were children and saw water coming out of it? What was the shock? It wasn't the shock that water came out of the taps. That was not the surprise. The surprise was that this thing can actually happen. It can be done.
Yeah.
So what is the problem? So for you, that's the thing. We give examples. Look at countries around the world and we say, oh yeah, it's bigger. No, it's actually because they have people who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They have high taxes. 63% in some countries of your income tax goes to the government. 63% of your income rather is taxed, goes to the government. But do you ever hear anybody say we went to hospital and we had to wait for hours? No. Do you hear them say that when something goes wrong, the welfare of the state then is not able to kick in?
Nope.
No. Do you hear that our children did not do exams because our children are at risk of not doing exams?
The headmaster could not buy chemicals for...
Or that exam started at 9 o'clock
chemistry.
in the morning in Finland because the headmaster had to go on a motorcycle to go and try and download and print an exam. Do you ever hear things like that? They tax you, but they serve you. And this is what I'm saying. It is possible for it to be done. Hospitals, 17 of them are being built in Nairobi. It could have been done 10 years ago.
Right. How many
It's not a matter of the money is not
built?
there. How many public schools could have been built?
Yes.
All these levies that we're talking about now, they should translate to something. If you like, have 10 pages of levies. It is okay. It's no problem. Let the end result show for the input. Let the Kenyans who have to wake up every day, sweat, die, cry every day, let it show for something. Let it show. The same Kenyan is going to have to go and now start begging people with a piece of paper. My loved one is sick, help me. I mean,
it's a daily cost to live in this country. And now I can understand what you were saying, that Kenyans cannot afford Kenya.
No. You see that guy who said we disband the country and we move, we
Yes,
go home.
Yes. This is it.
This is it.
Shouldn't have been about Corona. It should have been about everything else.
14th
This
14th
country should be
March.
disbanded and
Let's
everybody to go home.
Go home. Let's go home. Now, I don't know the home. Is a heavenly home? Home. Because it gets to the point where it's too much.
Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Also looking at the comments on social media. What do you think? Should the government review how much taxes it's levying on fuel prices? Should the government review? EPRA should be disbanded. That's according to Monene. And our noisy activists should take this good chance to prosecute them and Wananchi. Now, okay, I hear what you're saying, Monene, but here you are shooting the wrong person. EPRA does not make the law. EPRA does not come up with a tax policy. EPRA just has a formula. As the experts were told, come up with a formula that looks at how well you can cushion the consumer. Why do we have these fuel prices regulated this way? Is to cushion the consumer. To say, the oil marketers, this is your margin. The pipeline, this is your margin. You shall not charge beyond this. You as a government, this is your margin. Now, of course, the government decides its own
For
margin.
themselves.
So the government will decide we want to increase VAT and they'll go to Parliament and they will arm twist the Parliament and Parliament will go, okay, let's have 8% VAT. That's the issue. I think we should not even be talking about EPRA or KRA at this particular point. We should be talking about the people who take this money and they're supposed to use it. Are they using it? Abed Kilemi says what?
It is very lucid that the government is subjecting Kenyans to extreme end of penury. Okay, Kenyans are wailing for real. Kenyans are wailing, and that's the truth. Kenyans are complaining. And if you can't hear do you know what it is? Anybody would understand that when you hear a baby wailing over and over and over, there's something wrong here. And you can actually fix the situation. You change the diaper, you feed the child, you rock it to sleep, you do something that makes the situation a little bit better. Kenyans are wailing. They've been wailing for some time. We understand that COVID came and disrupted so many things, but there are certain things you can do to balance the equation. Add a little hot water, add a little cold water, and make it comfortable. You can do something.
For people.
You can.
Let's go to the phone lines. Rose in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you, Eric?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Rose?
Good morning, Du. I'm
morning,
fine, thank
Rose.
you.
Thank you very much for calling in. So, Rose, let me just see how much are you paying for fuel for the next 1 month in Mombasa?
I'm telling you, it's devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The way, okay, Kenya should be disbanded.
And
we
everybody
go
to
home.
go home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, all of us, we should just go home because not fair. It's not fair.
Right.
Can you imagine a fuel, a liter is paying tax of 40 shillings.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not fair.
It really
Not
isn't.
really fair.
It
Yeah,
isn't.
the government should
in
really
Mombasa,
think.
just in case you're
Yes.
unaware, you haven't visited your petrol station this morning, Rose,
Yes.
Super petrol is
Yeah.
going to be 120 shillings and 41 cents. And diesel is 105 shillings and 27 cents. While
Okay.
kerosene will be 95 shillings and 46 cents. And you can imagine over 40% of any of those prices is tax.
I'm telling you. You can imagine the person using fuel, using kerosene. How are these people going to survive? You know, somebody's supposed to be looking for food. At the same time, the food, the prices are hiking up. Instead of subsidizing at least on fuel, still going up.
Yep,
Seriously.
that's true. Thank you very much, Rose, for your concern and calling this morning.
Okay.
Asante sana. Evans in Baringo.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, to you.
Okay, as per the taxes, I don't think they are not assisting us very much because they are taxing us too much. Because if you check with the comparison, the roads are not the way they are supposed to be, and the common man who is using kerosene is not getting the real situation is not that good. Because you are buying kerosene at 95 and it is supposed to be made around a liter per day.
Yep.
For cooking and lighting the house.
Yep.
This levies come up, you go to the hospital, you are told there's no medicine, you have to buy medicine.
Yep.
And then services are down in the government.
Yeah.
Corruption is high.
Mm-hmm.
People don't get the services that are needed.
Yeah.
Bills of electricity are going up again. And yet the government is saying that they are trying to pass electricity to all over the country.
Evans, what would you like to see happen?
What we would like to see happen is that the government should try to work and give the common ones the best services that they have to be given.
Mm.
You cannot tax us and yet you're saying that you're providing service.
Mm.
Yes, because you see, like now, people are being taxed, yet there isn't the basic health services they're supposed to be getting at free.
Yeah.
You go to an hospital, you're told that a medicine like paracetamol is not available, you have to buy.
A painkiller.
You see now that one?
Yeah.
You have a common cold. Yes, there's somebody that helps you because we don't have this and this and this, and you go and buy at the chemist. And then as a chemist, the guy is inflating the prices of the drugs.
Or that the doctor requires to do some tests on you, but you need to go to a private lab to get the test done.
Those are the same things that do happen because you go and then somebody, when you're in an hospital, somebody tells you, go to this specific chemist to buy this medicine.
Yeah.
Because you see, maybe the doctor has got a share in that chemist. Go to a water kiosk, the water kiosk person is charging you 50 bob, and this is water from the community being funded by the CDF, and then the community committee charges you much money.
That's true. We
This
hear
is
you,
something-
Evans.
This is when you look at this now, you are being charged maybe 20 shillings for a 20-liter jerry can, and yet this is what the government says they are being funded by CDF. How does that help the common man?
That's very true. Thank you very much, Evans.
Okay, thank you very much.
Asante sana. Lovely day in Baringo. Let's go back to Mombasa. Anthony, good morning.
Good morning, Nairobi.
Good
How are you?
I'm very fine. I think this proverb should be heli punda afe mzigo ufike.
Heli punda afe mzigo ufike.
Ndio.
Punda here being Anthony.
Yes.
And the mzigo?
The tax, whatever the government want to do.
Oh, as long as the government gets its tax.
What Odu was saying, yes, it is true. When the government taxes us and uses the taxes properly, we will see the end results. But even that one has a limit. This one has gone too far. Fuel, when the price is up, it affects everything.
Yeah.
So the commodities will go up. Everything will go up.
For sure.
I want you to do this. Pick a pen and paper. Give me a budget of how a person who is earning 20,000 per month is surviving. Just tell me. He has rent to pay. He has kids who are going to school.
Yep.
He has to eat. He has to feed them. He has to clothe them.
Yep.
He has to use fare to go to work. Some people walk 5-10 kilometers to go to work just to save money to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And those people on the high seats there, they don't feel the pinch. When things go up, they don't feel the pinch. I remember someone was asked one day, how much is the price of bread? He said, I don't know, it's around 150, 500. How can he know how we are feeling if that is what he feels? That's what he thinks.
Sure.
That's very true.
This one has gone too far.
That's very true. Thank you very much, Anthony.
Now we are breaking the donkey's back.
Heri punda afe mzigo ufike.
Kabisa. Even though wanatufanyia.
Pole sana ndugu. Let's see what other comments we're having on getting on social media.
For sure. Okay. The government needs to come to the rescue of its citizens. Some families solely depend on kerosene daily in terms of cooking and lighting. Also, inflation is high. T says, and it's interesting, this quote, if they tax you, they should serve you. And the question then becomes, are they? What would happen if all these levies were removed is the question that Jimmy James is asking. Sometimes I wonder, why do we pay MPs in this country? They're the ones who are supposed to create laws that caution Kenyans from this mess we are in. But instead, they're also crying like the ordinary Mwananchi. There's a question. Kenya really taxing the living daylights out of us. You're killing us, the people. The taxes are not even translating to anything substantial, only corruption. This country should indeed be disbanded.
Whoa. Wow. We still want to hear from you on our social media platforms, SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. Let's take a break now on KTN Home. The conversation continues on SpiceFM. We are discussing the rising cost of fuel and the impact that is likely to have on the people, and especially if you consider that over 50% or nearly 50% across super petrol, diesel or kerosene is basically government taxes and levies. That's going to government. For every 1 litre of kerosene being bought in Nairobi at 100 bob, 40 shillings is tax. And 1 litre of kerosene being bought in Nairobi at 100 shillings could be used by a family for 2 days for lighting and cooking. So every 2 days, government is making 40 shillings out of people who are buying kerosene for cooking and lighting. I don't need to remind you then the kind of person that is using kerosene for cooking and lighting in Nairobi, and why the government is taking 40 shillings from them every day. Good morning. It's 5 minutes to 8.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, so continuing conversation this morning, and we're just looking at the taxes that are coming about in the Situation Room this morning on Kenya's biggest conversation, and we're still looking at this issue today. And so, as you know, wrapping it up this morning and asking ourselves, how then is it possible for the government to actually protect its people? And I think, I think the initial response is, okay, one of the ways that you can protect people is remove the levies. And I'm saying on the other side, have the taxes there, but then what are you going to do with them? That's one sure way that you can protect people, is that say that what you're actually levying people for, what you're actually taxing people for, is going to turn out to be something that it will translate into something that actually works for the people. It can't be that the taxes come about and you do nothing with them. It can't be that you do just a little, that everything that you say you were going to do with them, you actually do. And I think that's one sure way of protecting the people. That's one sure way of ensuring. That's one sure way of putting in place things that actually come into being a reality. So I think it's absolutely necessary to look at this and say, the decisions that we are making today, how can we ensure that the result in the people then being protected, that you can actually go out and get the services that you seek, that you can actually go out and when you make demands of that government that you've put in place, they actually come to be. That we don't have situations like this where we are seeing, again, I'm also going to bring the example of, you don't have situations that you see where we're looking for money on the week before exams and it has not come through. You're looking for money to roll out.
CDF has not received the money that it should be receiving
for this financial year.
We are 3 months to the end of the financial year. They haven't received 50% of the money that they should have received. This is just CDF that's supposed to be receiving 100 million shillings per constituency across the country. If that money hasn't gone, if counties have not received the money that they should have been receiving, if we are talking about the education sector not getting the money that it should have received by now to run its operations, what are we then saying? Where are the taxes going? Is the government going to tell us we are not taxing you enough?
Not just enough.
Is that the excuse that's going to be given by the government? That we are not taxing you enough? Would like to continue hearing from you on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Someone is asking, so what would happen if you removed all these taxes?
Yeah, so what will happen? Things will fall apart.
Yeah.
Would it stop being?
There'd be no salary.
Yeah.
There'll be no pay for the next couple of days.
There will be no fluid cash to get other things done.
Let's see. Let's start from that point. Where don't collect money. Let's keep the money. Then let's see.
Let's see what will happen.
Then now let's start saying, unataka pesa ya nini? Ya maziwa? Shika 20
you
bob.
have this.
Unataka pesa ya nini? Ya mkate. Ulikula mkate jana. You are not going to eat mkate twice a week. No. You're fine.
Eat potatoes.
Eat potatoes. Feed on that. As we go to the top of the hour and we still want to hear from you, let's think about 2 golfing tournaments that are taking place in the country. in the next 2 weeks, from Thursday this week, the 18th, to Sunday the 21st, the magical Kenya Open, part of the European tour, taking place at the Current Country Club. And then another one that has been admitted to the European tour is the Kenya Savannah Classic. So this Thursday to Sunday, magical Kenya Open. And then from next week, Tuesday to Friday next week, the Kenya Savannah Classic. 2 European tour golfing tournaments, each of them with €1 million cash prize for the winners. It's going to be taking place at the Current Country Club. But now you cannot go and watch them because spectators are not allowed into this because of COVID-19 restrictions. So the best place to catch these tournaments is on KTN Home and on KTN and the standard digital platforms. This is where you'll be able to catch this. Keep it right here. In the next hour, we talk about what else the government should be able to do and what it should be doing for us. It's now 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Traffic.
All right, so we're looking at getting into the city a little bit difficult coming from Tomboya Street. As you get then on from the Globe Cinema roundabout, I think what we are looking at now is jam and nothing else. Coming from Gara, then further ahead from the Pangani underpass, it just looks absolutely crazy, guys. So it's Monday morning. Some of the things that we do expect after a lull over the weekend. Mombasa Road, in and outbound. It's quite crazy all the way through to the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. And then all the way from Airtel, that construction continues. And the road is a little bit narrower because they're using up some of it for the construction. Okay, guys? So that looks a little bit packed. The bypasses, however, performing very well this morning. Southern, Eastern, Northern, Red Hill. We don't have any problems here so far. Hopefully it can stay like this and you can use those as options to get in and out of the city and onto where you're going. All right, let's keep an eye on that. For now, at least, everything else seems to be settling in now into traffic hour. We'll take a look in a short while and see how that may have changed. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch with us, or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The
2.5 minutes after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Thank you very much for joining us. We're into the third hour of the show. We begin every weekday morning, 6 a.m. up to 10 a.m. With you in the room this morning is Nduoko and Eric Latif. C.T. Muga is sitting there just like you and watching us and listening and sending us comments and saying one or two things here and there. C.T.,
we can see you.
We can see you. We're getting in touch with you shortly so that you can contribute to this conversation. Today's proverb. Okay, Anthony's proverb is Heri punda afe na mzigo ufike. But today's proverb is there are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. There are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. And just going with that, let's get poetic. We're talking about taxation. So here's a lovely poem on tax. It's called the tax poem. Tax his land, tax his bed, tax the table at which he's fed. Tax his tractor, tax his mule, teach him taxes are the rule. Tax his work, tax his pay, he works for peanuts anyway. Tax his cow, tax his goat, tax his pants, tax his coat, tax his ties, tax his shirt, tax his work, tax his dirt. Tax his tobacco, tax his drink, tax him if he tries to think. Tax his cigars, tax his beers. If he cries, tax his tears. Tax his car, tax his gas. Find other ways to tax his ass. Tax all that he has. Let him know that you won't be done till he has no dough. When he screams and hollers, then tax him some more. Tax him till he's good and sore. Then tax his coffin, tax his grave, tax the sod in which he is laid. Put these words upon his tomb. Taxes drove me to my doom. When he's gone, do not relax. It's time to apply the inheritance tax.
Isn't that exactly what's happening now?
That's a life.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Cry, you're taxed.
Yeah.
Those tears, let's tax them.
We're getting to the point whereby if you breathe,
Tax.
you'll be taxed. It's interesting because the comment here, Onyango says Ndu is asking the wrong question. It's not how the government can protect the people. The question should be how the people can protect themselves from the government. Ebikonya says Mkate will be a luxury. Itapanda had his 60 bob. Well, I think it's close to there in some cases. It's about time the electorate consider recalling a failed government. Emeron Stanley says, I wish we could auction this country. Na kila mtu apewe share yake, ajipange mbele mbele. We can't afford living in Kenya anymore. Some of these things sound comical when you hear them, right? Because I think people also look for. I remember when we were growing up, and some of that you stress somewhere, and growing up, my siblings and I would always use comedy as a way to escape, some of the reality that was sometimes difficult. And I think that's what Kenyans do often, is that you use this kind of comedy or this satirical approach to things to kind of turn your face away from the reality that you're existing in. And so people joke about it not because it's funny, because they need an outlet to be able to deal with the reality right there and then. And the reality on the ground is that folks are not having an easy time living today, and that it gets more and more difficult as the days go by. February 14th was just a whisker away, and we thought that it was really bad when we saw that increase by 4 shillings, and didn't think it would get a lot worse. And then you go to buy like a thing of oil, and it's at least 100 shillings more expensive. We are looking at another 14, 20 days when things are going to get even more expensive, right? So we're not saying that right now it's bad and we hope it gets better. Right now it's bad and it is going to get more uncomfortable. That's what we're looking at right now.
It's getting worse.
Yes, it is. It is getting worse.
Senior Counsel Nasir Abdullahi tweeted yesterday, and he was asking, when will KRA tax the oxygen Kenyans breathe?
It's coming. It looks like it's coming, right?
Nasir Abdullahi's tweet. And then a tax expert called Mihir Zakar said, a flat existence tax set at 1,000 shillings per person per year could actually yield 5 billion shillings, 50 billion shillings annually. If you actually give them that kind of idea, right? Just say, because you're alive, you pay 1,000 bob a year. That would be 50 billion shillings. That can be something that the government can think about. Tax you for being alive. And when you die, tax your inheritance as well. This is the argument that people are wondering. So why? Why do we need to get to that point where it's all about tax here, tax there, tax there? Let's go to the phone lines again and just hear from Yegon. Yegon, are you in Nandi, in Matu, in Wajir, where are you today? Garbatula? You visit many places.
I am calling from Eldoret today.
All right.
Yes. And it's very sad that we are complaining because of fuel. The cow died long time ago, but we are being continued to be taxed. I want to give you an example of KPLC.
All right.
A token of around 450 shillings. When you are given a token, the token amount is 264. VAT 60. Fuel energy charge 68 bob.
That's already 128.
Forex charge foreign exchange charge is 34 shillings.
Whoa.
EPRA charge 0.79 shillings. Warma charge 0.64. Rev charge 13 shillings. Inflation adjustment 8 bob. So the half price of 450 is 225. So you are given a token of the half of the amount you paid. Unalipa 450, the amount paying the token you are receiving is 264.
The rest has just gone into taxes and levies.
Yes. So I saw an importer yesterday saying, no, it's not an importer, I think it's Gerald Pitok, who said that we import fuel at 49 shilling. So that shows the government, for the clearance at the board, it's like something like 79 shilling. So that the retailer will get a profit of only 4 shilling. So this country is heading the wrong direction. And we cannot blame it on BPI.
This was happening even before BPI.
Yes, even 2016 when I was in Moyale, we were paying a fuel with 140. Right now I see it is 133. Milk 180, Unga 160.
Hey.
So I think the foundation of Jubilee government was set on a wrong platform with a lot of loans.
So it was a wrong foundation, basically.
Yes, this was wrong foundation, basically. Because every development that we are enjoying today is a development in Tumekopa. You are enjoying calling on Okoachaasi.
We are a Fuliza country.
Yes, we are a Fuliza country.
As soon as the money comes in, it goes.
It goes. Even if it comes, ikichelewa, we must find a way of paying them back.
Yes. Afadhali you borrow from someone else.
Mungu atusaidie.
Kweli kabisa. Thank you very much, Yegon. Abel Arimba says, Proverbs 29:2, that's my take. Make sure you read it for the public to hear. So I'm going to read it. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous thrive, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. When the godly are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked are in power, they groan. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. Those are the various versions of the same verse. Basically what it's saying, leadership.
Leadership.
Bottom line, leadership. Dr. Mike, good morning.
Hi, Eric. How have you been?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Hope you had a nice weekend. Huh?
Yes. Tumezoea inchi.
Mlizoea. No, really, the beauty of the whole situation is that it's not all these complaints, I don't know taxation, I don't know what, I don't know loan, I don't know, guys. Well, the best thing that has happened is that now the middle class can finally not afford to fuel their cars. Finally, they may not be able to afford Wi-Fi. And the standard breakfast they have on their way to work may now become a luxury. In fact, the people who have let this country down is people like me, who are second, what do we call them? This tier that is not very rich and not very poor.
What are you calling yourself? Second-class citizen?
Wow. Not a second. That's a bit on the low. I mean, what do I call it?
Upper middle class.
Upper or lower middle class? Upper middle class.
Both of them. There's no difference. They are all lower. And now, if you look at what happened in Sudan, this is typically what happened. When those middle class guys could not afford bread, they had now to go to the streets. I'm not saying that is where Kenya needs to go, but at least it's a pointer towards us getting a solution towards this problem. Because you cannot come and tell me you borrow to do a Range Rover, to buy a Range Rover, and yet you are renting. Because that's basically what this economy, in my view, did. Personally, I've never used a SGR, and I'm not intending to use it. In fact, I'm not looking at importing a container. Neither has hundreds of my friends done so. So by the time you come and tell me you're doing 400 years of a railway, instead of the same amount doing a road, express road from Nairobi to Mombasa, employ all these guys, widen the tax base, generate more revenue at half the cost of the railway. What are you telling us? So it's just a matter of time, Eric. And you'll find that the
So
situation
you think it's bubbling under right now?
It's actually, that's basically
What do you
it
think?
is.
It's a
Now we
matter
are-
of time. It's a matter of time in order for what to happen.
What would be the spark?
Yeah,
In order
what-
for
so that
me-
what would happen, and then as a result of that, what would happen?
In order for the middle class to pull a Sudan on us, period. Yes.
So folks, like I've said before, are not pushed to the wall just yet. And
That's basically
if
what it is.
things get to the point where this middle class who gets comfortable under this pretentious comfortability now says this is too much, that's when we're going to see a shift.
In fact, the three things that have made the middle class very comfortable are three. Fuel, they could afford to fuel their cars, their Subarus. They are able to afford Wi-Fi and a meal and some rent. Let's say household, the rent and the food they eat.
Right.
Those are the three things that the government has made sure that the middle class is able to afford. Now, even that one is being slipped off. So now that they can't afford fuel, let things tighten a bit, and rent and Wi-Fi, and that is when now you'll see a Sudan being pulled on us. That is it. That's all we need now.
In the meantime, Dr. Mike, let's complete the journey.
To where?
No. There's a destination somewhere. Thank you very much, Dr. Mike. Have a lovely day.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dr. Mike.
0719-012-600 or SpiceFM KE on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. As we continue with this conversation and as we hear what our audience is thinking about the taxation and the high taxation, especially just looking at about 50% to 55% of what you're paying for fuel is actually government levies and taxes. What needs to happen to change this so that we can make life more affordable for people? Let's hear from Rosina in Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning to you, Eric.
How are you today?
My contribution, I'm okay. I'm good.
All right.
I like the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I think what she's going to do.
She is, yes.
Yeah, what you're saying, I think I'm for that idea. But I think all this is coming up because of the SGR debt. Because now I think KPA is on the limelight it can be auctioned, I believe so. So my question would be, when people are doing what are these the projects, they have not analyzed it to see how they're going to pay it, and also on the same note, because they're leaders and they have the ability seeing and balancing how people will live and how people can progress to another level. Don't we have those brains in Kenya?
We do.
And they're actually working every day, truth be told.
They're working, yes.
Yes.
But what is making us not see those abilities at work? Is it our greed?
I tell you, in my own estimation, it's actually the political front. When it comes to the technocrats and the brains that work in government in Kenya, countries have come to this country. Countries have actually just dusted up the policies that we've written, the proposals that have been done by the people, the brains that work in government, and they've gone and employed the same. Rwanda has borrowed a lot from Kenya.
Yes.
Namibia have borrowed a lot from Kenya. Many countries, even Ethiopia, have come here. They have participated in conversations. They've heard what we are thinking. They've taken Kenyans, they've hired them, and they've told them, come, implement this. And Kenyans are the ones that are running those countries. So it's not for a lack of capacity in our brain.
Yes.
It's for a lack of, there's a kink that somewhere it happens when it comes to the political decision making. That's my thinking.
So I think that we choose the long political leaders.
Okay.
So it is upon Kenyans we make a decision.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we just put the right people up there.
Thank you very much, Rosina. Have a lovely day in
And
Mombasa.
may God help us.
Amen.
May God
Indeed.
help us.
Indeed. What is Cindy saying?
Cindy says, sorry to say this, but I find this to be utter stupidity. The country is not headed in the wrong direction. We made that turn a long time ago. A gentleman said that bread was 300 bob, so he thinks we can afford that. This country is just a joke. All the so-called leaders should quit. It's coming out from some frustration there, Eric. And as I hear this frustration and I hear what people are saying as they call in, it cannot be that everybody is just saying they're frustrated and actually don't feel the frustration. And then I want to say that it's reflective of a larger percentage of people who are feeling the frustration and don't have the opportunity or the platform upon which to express it. But then also what Dr. Mike has said then comes into play. Until and unless you get so frustrated to the point that you cry out and you actually bring about some kind of friction, nobody's going to hear you. And again, I'm going to go to the example of a baby. For some reason, the baby just seems to be making that sense to me today. The baby is comfortable. When it gets so uncomfortable, it will scream that house down until you do something about it. That child is not going to keep quiet. So it'll cry a little bit and keep quiet. So some level of comfortability has been introduced and then it keeps quiet. But when it gets so bad that either you will pick up that child, you will remove the diaper, you will feed it, or you will rock it to sleep, that child will not keep quiet. And until and unless that happens.
But we need to be more than this child. And I'll tell you why. Because a child, once you sort their issue out temporarily, they don't care whether you have plans for the future. They calm down at that point. A couple of years back, during the Nusumkata government, we started having food demonstrations in this country. Right?
Yeah.
And what did the government do? The government now had to come in and bring in subsidies and see how we can make the cost of unga affordable. It was very, very much temporary. Because if it wasn't temporary, then we would be having those long-lasting solutions on the price of unga,
Prices
not
still went up,
discussing the issue of whether we can afford to import maize or not discussing the issue of whether we can grow maize or not. All those conversations should not be happening again. But it was just temporary. We discussed them. The government came in and decided, all right, so the price of unga is now coming down. Are you guys okay? Okay, go back to work. Sawa, we went back to work. Here we are looking at somebody who is buying kerosene for fuel, for energy, lighting, and cooking, actually spending 40 shillings giving that money to the government. And the government is not servicing them. These are the places where there's no proper sewer system. There's no water. This is a place where we are saying there's no access to healthcare. You don't have access to public school. You don't have access. So many things that the government should be servicing is not servicing, and yet you have given them 40 bob for every time you light that lantern. What is that? This is where I'm saying, baby, yes, but I think that we need to go beyond that baby and start having the conversation and not always keep pointing fingers and saying, when we're making a decision at the ballot, on what are we basing that decision? Is it on the popularity of this person who comes and speaks very well, or are we having those serious conversations with people? What are you going to do? You want to be our next president in 2022. What are you going to do about this high cost of living? What are you going to do about our impending debts? We have debt and we know. The Paris Club just gave us up to June not to pay. After June, another conversation needs to happen. China gave us up to June not to pay. After that, another conversation needs to happen. What is it that you're doing to lower the cost of government?
How many people think this in this manner when you're actually going to the ballot? Or how many people think in this manner when the campaigns are hot and heavy and your political aspirant is saying these things to you? How many people are having this mental conversation to say, is this person actually going to lead a government that is going to make sure that some of these protections are in place? Is this person coming in to lead a government that is going to make sure that these things are affordable to me as I see them and accessible to me as I need them? But how many people are having that conversation? And you won't know, because the truth of the matter is that, unfortunately, so much hoodwinking goes on during these political competitions that you don't really know who is coming out and making the true promises to you.
Yep.
But I think that's where you go back to the basics. the way we've unfolded it today, with your 100 shillings, who is it that is going to make sure that even if you pay 40 shillings to the government, that everything that you need is then taken care of? That's the question that you should be asking. That am I sure that with this decision that I am making, and guess what? If you cannot be sure, then you need to be demanding. If you cannot be sure that this individual is actually going to do it, or you cannot be sure of where this 100 shillings that you've sweated so much to even get in the first place is going, if you can't be sure, if you do not know, if you have a leader who is not coming in to unpack this for you, then we have a problem. And we should be making those demands. If you don't know, we have a big problem.
Big time. It starts with us and the conversation that we have with the people who want to be our leaders. If they don't have a solution to the current problems, and not just slapstick solutions, but long-term solutions, and showing us the path to that nirvana, then we actually are the ones who have a problem. Let's take a break at 25 minutes after 8. We are live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM and online. As we go to this break, let's remind you about this Thursday to Sunday when the Magical Kenya Open is going to be taking place. And then after that, from Tuesday to Friday next week, the Kenya Savannah Classic. Both of these are part of the European Tour. Double header being brought into the country. And this is a big honor to the country by the European Tour. Each of these has a €1 million cash prize to the winner. But you'll be able to watch them, both the Magical Kenya Open this weekend and the Kenya Savannah Classic next week, on KTN News and on standard digital platforms. Keep it right here. We'll tell you how. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi hii umbo yako iko na pembe.
Nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
All right, it's 18 degrees in Nairobi. We're looking at highs of 28 today and lows of 16. Partly sunny conditions in Nyeri, 15, going to highs of 26, and 29 will be the high in Nakuru. It's sunny at 19 right now. Partly sunny conditions in Eldoret at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 14. It's also partly sunny in Kisumu, 24 right now, going to highs of 31 and lows of 20. We'll see partly sunny conditions in Kakamega at 24. We'll see highs of 32. We'll also see highs of 32 in Mombasa, where it's mostly sunny right now at 27. Coming down to lows of 25. 26 will be the low in Malindi. Partly sunny right now at 27. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 21. Highs will be 29. Highs will be 33 in Dar es Salaam. It's partly sunny right now. And it's also sunny in Johannesburg at 16. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 14. Clear conditions now in Lagos at 25. Highs of 32 and lows of 27. And light rain now in Kinshasa at 23. Highs of 31. Coming back down to lows of 23.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, we're being told Langata Road is looking tricky this morning, coming through from the barracks and then out towards the Timor roundabouts. That is quite jam-packed. You can go through Bagathi Way, so it moves a little bit faster as you then get to the roundabout at Situ Mortuary, on towards Irving's Collect, then towards Valley Road. There's an option. Or use Community going down towards the city centre. It's moving a little bit faster, not bumper to bumper. So those are many options for you, all in one. Also, you can use the bypass, the southern one. You still come out of Langata Road, don't you? Yeah. Okay. So either way, there are many options that you can use right now. It shouldn't be too bad. Coming off of Thika Road also is moving into the city a little bit easier now. Wangari Maathai Road, she's doing beautifully this morning. You can use that to get out. Red Hill Bypass coming out of Westlands. Remember, it's jam-packed in Westlands all the way through to Kangemi because of that construction that we see. Red Hill will do you good. All right? We'll take a look at how this changes in a bit. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. Text us 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
29.5
done
minutes
right.
after 8
94.
o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on Spice FM, KTN Home, and online. With you in the room this morning is Ndu Oko and Eric Latif. We are discussing what the government can do to make sure that it's offering services to the people optimally. And as we do that and we discuss the next issue as we pivot the conversation, let me just redo the tax poem. Tax his land, tax his bed, tax the table at which he's fed. Tax his tractor, tax his mule, teach him taxes are the rule. Tax his work, tax his pay, he works for peanuts anyway. Tax his cow, tax his goat, tax his pants, tax his coat, tax his ties, tax his shirt, tax his work, tax his dirt. Tax his tobacco, tax his drink, tax him if he tries to think. Tax his cigars, tax his beers, if he cries, tax his tears. Tax his car, tax his gas, find other ways to tax his ass. Tax all he has, then let him know that you won't be done until he has no dough. When he screams and hollers, then tax him some more, tax him till he's good and sore. Then tax his coffin, tax his grave, tax the sod in which he's laid. Put these words upon his tomb, taxes drove me to my doom. When he's gone, do not relax, it's time to apply the inheritance tax.
Yep, by all means possible.
Tax and tax. And what you're saying, Ndu, is taxation is not an issue for you if services can be delivered.
If services can be delivered, absolutely. You know, I look at stories from around the world, but one thing that sticks in my head very clearly was the removal of subsidies of fuel in Nigeria in 2014. And specifically in the city of Lagos. So what happened was the removal of subsidies came into effect one day, and what happened was that the fuel prices immediately doubled, right? And people said, what are we supposed to do? And I come back to what Dr. Mike said earlier. So what are we supposed to do now? This is what I was planning. This is how I budget my life. And then suddenly you're bringing in this aspect. What are we supposed to do? So guess what? Specifically Lagos, which for a lot of people still, and also if we look at the economy of the country, Lagos contributes quite a huge percentage to this because it still is the commercial capital that has one of the busiest ports in the country. And everybody said, well, they've doubled the price of fuel. We can't afford this, so we are not going to work.
Right.
Lagos lost $14 billion in
How
3
many
days.
3 days.
In 3 days. And the strikes continued for 2 weeks. Schools, nobody went to work. Banks did not open. Hospitals, people did not go to work. The sick, people did not go to work. This happened? This caused the government to say, hold on a little bit. Let's actually see how we can work this thing. They reintroduced the subsidies for a temporary period and then said, now let's see how we can regulate this thing just for some time. People then went back to work. So there was screaming and there was, shoulder bumping here and there. Let's see what we can actually do. But it said, you don't move, we can't move.
Yeah.
I remember this story because I saw a comment from somebody just now and they said, okay, let's, on social media, and they said, okay, let's all stay at home then, or let's just use public transport. Let's not buy this fuel that they're saying that we have to pay this amount for in Kenya today. We have to pay 122. Let's stay at home. Easier said than done, but it has to be a collective agreement amongst people to say it is too much for all of us to be able to afford at this point. We all stay at home.
Yeah.
But you will see the effects of a collective mindset of the people to say, on all of us, this is too much. On all of us, we are not able to afford this. On all of us, then we must do something. And we've seen examples the world over of how it has worked. It's possible to be done. But the thing is, if you're going, and the cry for a lot of people was, if you're going to remove this subsidy in Lagos, for example, can we have a security system that works within the city?
Yep.
If we're going to pay double for the price of fuel, is it possible then, again, that we can go to hospital and not have a problem? Is it possible that LASMA and SARS are not going to be chasing us everywhere that we go?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that this money that we pay, we're going to be able to see the replicate services for the same thing? And it was the same cry.
Yeah.
So if not, guess what? We will tank this economy because we realize that you make something because we're all going about like bees in a colony. We're all going about like bees in a colony. If we don't purchase, you won't thrive. So guess what? Let's wait until you can do something about it.
Got to that point.
Yes.
But if you also look at it, you realize that, and we've asked the CS for the National Treasury this question many times whenever we have a chance to speak with him. And Ukuri Atani says, look, so this is the cost of running the government. And what we are doing is we've come up with, all these austerity measures to cut back on our expenditure. But is there reality in this government cut back on its expense?
No.
If you look today, are there things... Mohammed Elia was here a couple of weeks ago and he was telling us, look, there's so much unnecessary spending on government, by government, to the tune of billions per day on money that should not even be spent. And this is not on paying salaries. This is not on development. This is on maintaining these other things, buying flowers here and there, saying, we're buying newspapers. Somebody, senior person in government saying, you know what, guys, a newspaper is 60 bob on the streets. Why are we buying a newspaper 150 bob in this office? And he's told, this is government. But if that did not come from the top, it will not go down. When Uhuru Kenyatta was finance minister, he went to parliament one time and he was reading his budget and he said, I want us to cut back on how much we're spending on fuel and vehicles. And therefore, I am going to direct that all government vehicles are going to be 1,800 cc's. If you have a four-wheel drive vehicle that is more than 2,000 cc's, it's going to be a pool vehicle. That thing did not fly anywhere. We saw CSAs a couple of days with some VW Passats.
They bought them, yes.
Yeah, some VW Passats. Nowadays, what do you see? One cabinet secretary, 4 Prados chasing. What's the point? If you look at how much you're spending on a daily basis, then you ask yourself, really, must we do this? This conversation came home the other day when we hosted the chairman and the MD of Kenya Railways here. And they were telling us about the project of revamping the Nairobi-Nanyuki railway line and what they did. They said how much a contractor had proposed. And the contractor proposal was 18 billion shillings. The management of Kenya Railways looked at that and thought, wow. So they actually ended up spending 1.8 billion shillings because they looked at another way of doing it. And they used the National Youth Service. They brought in military officers. Military officers know how to work on bridges and such. National Youth Service will come and do the handiwork. And then the engineers on railway are people who are trained at Railway Training Institute for many years, so they understand the railway system. This contractor that you actually was going to hire those same engineers of RTI to come and do the job. So Kenya Railways did this. Just listen to what the Kenya Railways officials were telling us.
When we did the cost-benefit analysis and we wanted to deploy a contractor there, the cost was about 18 billion. But we said, the government told us, can you do it in a lower cost?
Right.
We did it with 1.8 billion.
Today, contractor would have been 18.
Yes.
You did it with 1.8.
With 1.8 billion.
How?
Okay.
I must ask how. So where this 16.2 billion shillings where would it have gone if you had gone with a contractor?
Yeah, what we did is that we used the people that the MD has just talked about, but we also brought on board the engineers from Kenya Defence Forces, right? Particularly to work on the embankments, viaducts, and the bridges. And then we used the National Youth Service to clear the lines because most of these were covered by forests and or all sorts of things. So by using this government staff together with the railway staff, those that were recalled, much as we pay them, is not the same that what the contractor would have charged, and that's why the big difference in pricing.
That's a this is what the chairman and the MD of Kenya Railways told us what they did with the refurbished Nairobi-Nanyuki railway line.
Okay. So, at that point, when they made this decision, feeling like the institution was cash-strapped, were not able to spend this amount of money on this refurbishment. Now, 18 billion shillings minus 1.8 billion shillings is 16.2 billion shillings that would have gone
to a contractor.
Who probably would have been able to do the work for 1.8 billion shillings.
Yep.
So then you're forced to ask yourself, how many more projects in this country have gone to contractors with huge costs that could have been done for almost a tenth of, actually exactly a tenth
Yep.
of the amount. That's one side of it. If you look at the other side, that means it is possible to do things with the resources that are presently available to you in this country. Because a lot of times we say, can we really do this? But people are complaining that there's not enough money and the budgets are tight. We're not able to be innovative. There's an example, a brilliant example right here of innovation, creativity, working with what you have, working within your means, using the resources that are available to you. All in one is possible to be done. So why is it not more practiced in this country? Did the Nanyuki-Nairobi rail not function?
It did.
Is it not working today?
And it was done not by crews, it was done by engineers.
Is it not working today?
Engineers who have actually gone to university and then they've been hired by the Kenya military, the Kenya Defence Forces, and they work for the Kenya Defence Forces. They worked on the embankments. People who have been trained at the National Youth Service, they know how to do the job and they know how to follow instructions. They did the job. Engineers who have been trained on railway and railway management at the Railway Training Institute and other places, paid for by Kenya Railways, came in and they oversaw this project. It was done 1.8 billion shillings as opposed to 18 billion shillings. All those are local resources. How many times do we see this kind of nonsense where you see a government, just a fence, to put up a fence around a government piece of land, and instead of just using the same, NYS, come and do this fence, you see, there's, I don't know what tender to come and do a fence, and you shall use concrete poles and blah, blah. And the contractor comes and charges so much for simple things that can be done, making of culverts, bridges, repairing of roads. This one, we have to, go into contracting, into procurement. And the procurement laws, they say that we must go through this process. The public disposal. And come on, people. We are wasting so much, yet it's actually possible.
It's possible to have it done here.
Do it here. We have the expertise. We have everything locally. We just do not want to do it.
I believe something else he said is that they actually called some of their senior engineers out of retirement to work on this particular project.
Yes.
So you have all this latent talent residing in this country that nobody is actually using. And if you can do it for the railway, this transport sector, this area, then I do believe that across board, whereby you're looking at things that you need to be done, whether it's road infrastructure, whether it is the agriculture sector, whether it is education, whether it is health, there are so many things that can actually be done. Look at the MES scandal, for example.
Yep.
Some of the things that they were bringing those machines in to treat. Do you know that it would have been possible to be able to diagnose if they used the huge network of community health workers in this country, paying them a stipend every month, who would go around the community and find out what person A, B, C, D is ailing from, or teach them basics in terms of hygiene, hand washing, and things like that. That the reasons why they were bringing in these machines, which actually, yes, did come in, but then some are rotting away where they're sitting, could actually have been solved if we use available and existing networks, and probably half the cost, if not less. So it is possible for these things to be done in country. It's possible for us, the wastage that Mohammed was telling us about, it is possible to avoid it. And it is very painful to see situations that can be avoided and are not, to see a shilling that could be saved here, there, and it is not. And then you see your people continually wasting away and complaining. Should people be complaining in this manner, the way they're complaining this morning? People should not be complaining in this manner.
When you have a government in place, absolutely not.
The way,
not on the
way
basics.
they are right now.
Not on the kind of basics that we're talking about. I mean, there's a group, a music group, I don't know where they went to. There's a group called Mashifta, and they once released a song called System Ya Majambazi. They said, this, what we have is System Ya Majambazi. Everything is jambazi. From the person who should be protecting you, that's a thug. To the person who should be serving you, that's a thug. The person who should be treating you, majambazi. We have system of majambazi from the National Treasury all the way to the person who's dealing with you and on the grassroots level. And if we look at that, and unless we change that, then we are still in those issues. I have argued on this show a couple of times before. If you look at the resources that we have, just NYS, here we are, we're talking about KDF. KDF goes and picks some of the best brains. They are doctors, they are engineers, they are architects who are working in KDF. And they could just be deployed. All right, so we have on our project called This and the Other, we are repairing some bridges that were swept away by floods in West Pokot or in Tana River, and we need to redo these bridges. Deploy KDF and they'll do it.
They will.
Use NYS to do some of these simple jobs and they'll do it. And you will save so much money. But then, no, this has got to go to the Majambazi. It has got to be done the Majambazi way because money has to go out. You're talking about building dams. Are you telling me that in this country we don't have the capacity to actually do a dam? We have to go to a foreign country, borrow money from that country, get a company from that country that will come and not even do a dam? Are you telling me that we are not capable of doing that?
So all of these things are planned. All of these things are planned right into the blueprints then of several administrations. That what it is that this theft that you see, this mismanagement of funds or whatever, is actually planned. It's not something that happens along the way, that, all right, while we were here, this kind of happened and things slipped through the cracks. That it was planned that once we get in, these are some of the things that we're actually going to do. Yeah, because you can't tell me that somebody just had an idea and said, okay, well, while we're here, let's borrow a certain amount of $1 billion here and there, and let's see how we can, make this project that actually doesn't actually come into existence. It's planned that beforehand, this is the route that was going to be taken. And you hear me here shouting, talking about how Kenyans ought to be protected, doesn't feature in the minds of these individuals at all.
Not at all.
And that is where I'm asking Kenyans to take a look from. The repetitive action, or in some cases, the repetitive inaction is showing you just where you are placed in terms of a priority in this country, where you should be the number one. Where you should be the number one priority.
You'll get some token thing here and there.
You're being shown exactly where on the pecking order you're.
Yeah. There'll be something.
You're being shown where your position actually lies. Whereas it should be that you're putting people into positions of leadership, into positions in government to actually uphold you.
Yes.
But they're doing the opposite. Wake up and see exactly what is going on.
And just to be clear, by the way, this is not only on the doorstep of the presidency.
No.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
No.
It also comes to the other elected leaders, the governors, the members of the county assembly, the members of the National Assembly and the Senate. For example, the National Assembly has just looked at the budget policy statement that was presented by the National Treasury, all right, for the next financial year. The committee on budget and looked at their budget and appropriations, looked at it. They poked holes here and there, but they took a report to the National Assembly saying, let's approve this. And we have not seen any pushback or any serious questions being raised by the Committee on Finance or the Committee on Budget and Appropriations on what the government intends to do with the next year's budget, if you actually take it into consideration what the government had intended to do in the previous financial year budget. Last year, the issue was, you guys are telling us about that you want to focus your next financial year on the Big Four agenda. Let's look. From the day you told us about the Big Four agenda, that is December 2017, up to this point where we are talking about June 2020, What is the roadmap for getting the Big Four agenda done? We have been asking for this, we don't get. The Committee on Finance has been asking, let us get the debt register. They don't get. And yet, members of the National Assembly sit there, they stamp their feet and they say, okay, let's just pass this. Okay. How much are we going to get for CDF this year? Oh, Mr. Speaker, sir, we passed this thing. What absolute nonsense is that? And we have those are part of the system. They're the leaders that we elect. We elect members of parliament to go there and say, no, this is not how you're going to spend the money. First of all, before we approve any raising of the debt ceiling, we must have current debt register. Do we hear anything like that from the National Assembly? We don't hear anything. It doesn't come out. The National Treasury will go and ask them to raise the debt ceiling to 12 trillion shillings and they will pass it. They'll
go and pass it.
Like the ship they are.
When they do go into parliament and are supposed to do certain things, because let's be honest, was they going in to make the law? They're going in to make the law. Are we understanding? They're going in to make the law.
Yep.
As in, they are the ones who go and say, this is what we recommend should be. It is assented to then, and then it's passed, right? They go in to make the law. It is well within their power, it is well within their jurisdiction to do a lot of things that could actually go towards the protection of citizens.
Yes.
To do a lot of things to this thing. It sounds like some amorphous thing, to make the environment in this country actually conducive for people to live and do business and such actually is the job of government.
Yes.
Now, in order to have this established, that's when you have lawmakers coming into play. They join this.
And
the judiciary coming in and joining
Parliament.
this. Institutions that come in and join this.
Yes.
Because that is the end goal of all of this. It is possible. So how are they going to do this? Their hands are tied. Their hands are not tied.
Hands are not tied.
They are the ones who are actually supposed to be doing this job.
Parliament
so if
has
they go
constitutional
in knowing,
power and mandates.
Exactly. So if they go in knowing, so that's why I keep saying, when you're making the decision, if they go in knowing that your end goal is to provide for and to protect the citizen of Kenya, they can do it.
They should.
People think that they'll come and tell you, I tried to build a road and that was it.
There's an office in Parliament called the Parliamentary Budget Office. Okay? This one has experts on budgeting, finance, public finance management. These are civil servants who sit and they scrutinize documents coming from the National Executive. The Parliamentary Budget Office often writes recommendations and reports that are handed over now to the relevant committees of the National Assembly and the Senate. On the issue of budget, they keep raising issues. They keep raising issues of why don't we have a proper debt register? Of this thing that we're calling the Big Four agenda, what's the implementation plan and matrix? How can we measure the progress of the Big Four agenda when the budget that's being presented by the National Treasury to Parliament is premised on financing the Big Four agenda? What exactly are we financing? By now, what should we be having? Should we be having X number of houses? What should we be having in terms of industrialization? Do we have that Katani tanning factory that is not working? What is it that should... The professionals in the Parliamentary Budget Office raise these questions. Members of Parliament who are also professionals, because they are finance people and they sit in the Budget Committee and the Finance Committee, they look at this thing, they're like, they use these reports by the Parliamentary Budget Office. They use this to go and bargain for themselves. And that's why we don't get value out of our National Assembly. And I am saying that openly without fear or favor. We don't get value from the National Assembly. Because when a National Assembly looks and a committee asks questions about the budget policy statement, and then at the end of the day, the overall recommendation to the whole House is, let's pass the budget as is. How can you even call that value? What is that?
It is not.
And we sit here and we're looking at how much the government wants to raise in terms of how much an ordinary Kenyan is paying for a liter of kerosene, of diesel, of petrol.
And then we cry and say, hopefully a miracle will drop out of the sky
that
and things will get a
going
little
to come
bit better.
And talk on our behalf.
Yeah, who?
Nobody else
if
can
not
talk on our
you,
behalf.
If not you, today, if not you, who is going to speak on your behalf? A lot of the things that we see changing countries the world over is not because people sat and twiddled their thumbs and hoped that there will be an answer dropping from heaven. It's because people stood up and said, enough is enough. We need to see something change about this. So when you make a decision, when you ask questions, if you say, we really don't understand where your 20,000 shillings goes in a month, you don't understand where your 100 shillings goes in a day, it's unpacked for you. Look at it. See, it is clear. They're putting it there for you. And maybe hoping that you ask the questions and saying, then where does the rest of this go?
Yeah.
How can I be helped?
And
ask
it's
the
all
question.
government.
You don't get the answer. Don't put them back there.
It's all government. So you'll throw all words and all to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority because of coming up with this. Those guys are just doing, they're serving public servants. They're doing their job.
They're doing their job.
KRA comes and it wants to collect. They are doing their job. Yegon has just given us a breakdown. For 450 shillings that you're trying to buy power tokens,
264
half of that is going to government. Half of it. So don't even turn your eyes on Kenya Power, for example. It's not Kenya Power that's taken that half. It is the government. And this government is taking that under the pretense that it's going to serve you. And they're not serving you. Our audience on KTN Home, thank you very much for tuning in this morning. We are live on KTN Home every weekday morning, 7 to 9. But we are live on SpiceFM every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So you can tune in to SpiceFM for the next conversation in the next hour, which will have a political angle to it. If you're in Nairobi, 94.4. If you're in Mombasa, 87.9. Malindi is 97.7. Nyeri is 90.9, Eldoret 96.7, Nakuru 96.0, and Kisumu is 102.5. Keep it right here for more conversations in the next hour. It's 5 minutes to 9. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, SpiceFMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Koliel
Very much. Uhuru Tano, let's finish the journey. Nabado, Kumi, and Ruto, you'll be taxed for walking on any government roads.
And every road will be government road.
Okay. Benson says the government by the people for the people is eating its own people. Where this country's fuel has already been poured, it's now a matter of lighting it. In Sudan, it was bread. Kenya fuel and unfair taxes should be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Well, let's see. Matt Timothy Kinyoda says our leadership is simply disconnected from reality. That's why the government can project economic growth on the backdrop of heavily taxed citizens. Is this the growth he speaks of? Wilson Dongo says, my family voted for the current regime. I opposed, but my vote, now a drop in the ocean. Now they are awake.
The family is awake, huh?
The family is awake.
Is it water under the bridge? Is it gone? Is it actually water in the ocean now?
It's now, look, I am also the eternal optimist. It is never too late. It is never too late. There's always something that can be done. Just the same way we say there's always a conversation that can be had to solve any sticky situation. There is always something that you can do. Now, not in this case is to start coddling people that sit in positions of government. Oh, please do the job. No, absolutely not. But now start to demand that we need this to be done. Or guess what? You are out. And then for people who are coming in the future, the demand stance that is very clear in very many countries does not come from government. It comes from the people. It comes from people. So much so to the point that government is afraid to touch anything. Hey, wait, before we spend, before we make demands, let us go to the people and tell them, this is what our plan is. What do you think? They are so aware of how important people power is that they go and say, we want something as simple. We want to build this road. And we wanted to pass through here, it's necessary that we cut a section of the forest. Please, can we?
Yes.
People go around the country and they say, wait, let's talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, let's first of all consult.
They have a conversation and we say, okay, looking at the greater good of the citizenry and this country, is this something we can do? If they say no, Omo, you're not touching that thing.
Forget
Leave it
it.
alone. If they say yes, please carry on. And then when they finish, something even more bizarre, they give you a statement of accounts, how much they used, what they did, who was involved. It is there for public record. So no question. We can see where it went. So tomorrow, guess what? If they come and ask you, now we have this and this, what, who will say no?
People will actually now look at it and say, okay, it makes sense.
So can it be done?
The
These
question
are
will not
humans,
be...
human beings,
These are human
same
beings.
humans on this globe, humans like us, 2 eyes, ears, one
Nose.
brain. Unless others would say that maybe some people just have half. But same human beings on this planet can make it happen. What is wrong?
If they can do it, why can't we?
What is wrong?
Coming to the top of the hour. In the next hour, we talk some politics, or political party politics in the country. And as we do that, we're still on the biggest golfing double-header exhibition in Kenya, brought to you by the European Tour. You can watch it live, courtesy of Standard Group on KTN News and live-streamed Standard Digital. Both events are supported by Safaricom, Vulcan Wireless, the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, Current Country Club, Johnny Walker, Keringet and Hemingways. In the meantime, grab a copy of the Standard newspaper or follow us on our digital platforms to find out who will come out on top at the Safari Tour and gain the right to represent Kenya at both the Magical Kenya Open and the Kenya-Savannah Classic. Remember, these are taking place. The Magical Kenya Open starts this Thursday to Sunday, and then the Kenya-Savannah Classic from Tuesday next week to Friday. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We love hearing from you, and we hope to hear from you in the next hour as well. Good morning. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, so still some traffic on Mombasa Road today, heading out into the city. It looks kind of tight. We're also seeing traffic on Kiambu Road, trying to join around Muthaiga Square, getting onto Thika Road. Everywhere you look, there's traffic this morning. So we're going to see some of it on Uhuru Highway, in and outbound. We're also still going to see some moving then towards Gong Road for some reason, getting towards the roundabouts at the city mortuary. Also tight, guys. So looking a little bit better, but still some spots where it's still heavy. Jogger Road, yeah, we still see some traffic coming off of industrial area, and then getting onto Jogger Road towards Landis Road into the CBD is slow, but hopefully it'll open up in a short while. Let's keep an eye on that. All right, SpiceFM KE, talk to us through this morning, and text us as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
2 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you very much for keeping it right here. Now, what was that today's proverb? There are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. There are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns.
The prettiest have the sharpest thorns.
Yes. Politics of the weekend and of the week. There's a story that is, who has it? Is it the Standard of the Nation?
Jubilee fires warning shot at Ruto.
It is the Nation. What does it say?
So, apparently, there's some power games. As if you didn't know. There are power games. They just started. They've not been there before. Weeks after Jubilee's National Management Committee kicked out Deputy Secretary General Caleb Kositani, an ardent ally of Deputy President William Ruto, the party is daring anybody who feels they can't continue subscribing to the Jubilee agenda to resign. Come and go, is essentially what they're saying. Now, not just anybody down there, anybody right until the very top. And at the same time, we also see that the party has fired a warning shot. The DP, who has been leading a parallel faction within the ruling party, is associated with the United Democratic Alliance, which recently bagged its first seat in Nakuru County's London ward. UDA's Anthony Nzuki garnered 1,707 votes against Mr. Francis Njoroge of Jubilee, who got 1,385 votes. Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju said in an exclusive that Dr. Ruto has become openly defiant. This is a quote. "I have always tried to avoid discussing the position of deputy party leader. As Secretary General, I should not be adding fuel to the fire. I should be trying to extinguish the fire." But he did not confirm or deny plans to oust the DP as deputy party leader. He said anybody who feels they cannot continue subscribing to the Jubilee agenda should resign and seek a fresh mandate. The party's National Management Committee 2 weeks ago had kicked out Kositani and replaced him with Joseph Kutun. But the DP's camp has insisted that its association with UDA should not be misconstrued to mean rebellion, claiming UDA is a part of the Jubilee, courtesy of a pre-election agreement between the ruling party and the Party of Development and Reforms, PDR, whose name was changed to
UDA. Right.
So they're saying this is what is happening. However, Tuju said, when people are dishonest, they look for technicalities. If you are honest, you just come out and resign and go for re-election. Don't start saying now that
there's a party between
and
PD,
it was a
PD,
coalition.
PD what again?
Eh?
PD what?
PDR. Not PDF. Party of Development and Reforms. So it was there in this Jubilee
Party of
coalition.
Development and Reforms
Was there before. It was part of the Jubilee coalition, is what they're saying.
Okay, just like URP and Tip Tip.
Yes.
Right.
So now, all that has happened is that we've changed the name to UDA.
Okay.
All right? So nobody should feel like there's anything untoward going on.
Okay.
All right? So he defended the recent purge that saw several of the DP's allies kicked out of the party, saying circumstances had compelled it to do so. They were not towing the party line, so go to another line somewhere else. We don't want you. So now he's saying from the very bottom to the very top, anybody who cannot toe the line, leave it alone and go and seek re-election on a fresh mandate. Don't come here and start saying one foot here, another foot here. You use it for posterity, and then when it doesn't suit you, you want to go and start talking something else in the backyard. Don't do it. Stop it. This is one party. We have one agenda. We are moving forward. If you're not with us, you're somewhere else. You can't go, and you can imagine now in London Ward, we had a candidate for Jubilee. Then now we have people who are supposedly Jubilee members who are now supporting and campaigning for the UDA candidate. Where are we? Don't you think it confuses other people? How much more yourselves as a party? So stop it, essentially, is what you're being told. And then from the bottom to the top, anybody who cannot toe the line, thank you. Here's the door. You're not doing again.
Okay. So the management committee is the one that kicked out the Deputy Secretary General, Caleb Kositani.
Yes.
The management committee is also the one that recommended the changes at the top level, especially in leadership of the parliamentary committees.
Yes.
As well. One fact. Now, if we are to be honest, like Tuju is saying, let's be honest. We have seen UDA come, and we have seen members who are allied to Jubilee going to associate themselves with UDA. We have seen members who are actually elected on a Jubilee ticket. That means they were nominated by Jubilee members to participate in an election, and they got elected to Parliament, to Senate, to the County Assembly, to governor positions, campaigning for people who are not Jubilee candidates, or campaigning for people whose Jubilee leadership has not said, we are endorsing this person. It's clear that those people are not campaigning for a Jubilee candidate. If they were not doing that in Msambweni when they campaigned for an independent candidate, after the party national leadership said, we are not fielding any candidate in Msambweni. They did not do that in Matungu, in Kabuchai, in London, in Hell's Gate, in Kisii, in Makueni. They did not do that. They were campaigning for a candidate of UDA. in some cases where there's a Jubilee candidate as well. I think it's as clear as day and night.
That clearly you're not with us.
Yes.
Yeah, what are we
and
doing?
we're talking about honesty. I mean, this is, we can bring in the technicalities as much as we want and say, oh, you know, but you see, UDA is UPPP, and which is UPPP was part of the Jubilee. Come on. And that's why I say politicians will always try and come up with different words. But once we start with that political dishonesty at that level, then that dishonesty is what is translated into everything else. When members of parliament come and tell you, you see, you elected us and you told us that you'd like us to increase the CDF, or you'd like us to make sure that devolution works, and we are not being able to work, it's because Uhuru and Ruto are not having a conversation on a daily basis. So that is why I'm not able to go and champion that in parliament. Political dishonesty. It has its signs on this side, it has its signs on the other side. And I'm okay. Let's call them out for what they are.
You're a breathing, functioning human being who can make decisions on your own. You won't come and tell me that because these two are not talking that I will not live. Then so therefore, my heart stops beating, my brain stops working. I can't do anything else because of them. Stop it. In this case, I agree with the Secretary General. If you're not going to, because you joined this, you did not join Jubilee knowing you didn't. You did not join Jubilee saying, I'm joining Jubilee, but I still have this handbag of mine. I'm still going along with it. No, you were joining Jubilee. So I agree with that. If you're not able to toe the line of the party, go to the one that you want to and stop confusing everybody here.
And if you're so popular, so you just go back to the electorate.
Go and form your own and
go
say
back
that
to the electorate and say, I have quit Jubilee.
Me.
The party that nominated me to parliament, I have quit as the senator of Elgeyo Marakwet, as the senator of Nakuru County, as the MP for this and the other of Madeira. I have quit Jubilee.
And I am with the Party of Development
the party
and Reform.
Which is now
UDA.
Now called UDA. And I am going back to the people of Madeira and asking them to elect me to parliament. Go back to the people. We don't have a problem actually holding a by-election in Madeira, in all those constituencies.
No.
If indeed you do not feel like Jubilee is your vehicle anymore. This political dishonesty, I have a big problem with.
Why are we doing
Because this is conmanship.
You're telling people a certain thing when it suits what you want to try and achieve. Then tomorrow, it'll change. And the day after that, it changes. And you say, oh, well, you know, we never really were part. It's not that we are moving. No. And then you want to eat your cake and have it. You should not be able to do that, especially when it comes to decisions that are going to directly affect people at the end of the day. Where are you? And if anything, you should show people then if people can be so fickle like this in the explanation, then take it to be that they're going to be fickle in their decisions and how they're going to lead. Take it like that.
Yep.
That you're neither here or there. You're neither hot nor cold. And you want to be in positions of leadership over people. You can't decide. Then move. I don't get it. Why is it so difficult to be able to take a position very clearly? Why? Because you want to be able to benefit from here and you want to be able to benefit from the other side at the same time. And those are the things that you continue telling Kenyans that you can't. You choose a side. So I'm saying very boldly, yes, pick a side. Pick a side. They're frustrating you. You don't like it anymore. Leave. You say the party has frustrated you. You've been left out. You're no longer in the decision. You don't like it. It's not doing you well anymore. Leave. Go and seek a fresh mandate elsewhere. And I'll even echo the words of Tuju himself. It is frustrating you by being here and you don't like the way in which we are doing things. Go.
Now the
to the people, if you believe that your position is so strong and can be upheld by the people, go back to them and tell them so that they can elect you on another platform with a fresh mandate.
The story that they're going to come and give us is, we formed the Jubilee.
Who is we?
It's our party. We are not going to leave our party. If they don't like us in this party, let them leave. We have heard the same.
But you went
especially
and formed
from
another
Tanga
one.
The Tanga people who are now you do it's what UDA Wheelbarrow Party people.
Get it, man.
Are the same ones who have said we are not leaving Jubilee, but they're the same ones who support a UDA candidate in an election. This
openly. Yes.
They are campaigning for a UDA candidate. They are out there in Nakuru, in London, campaigning for a UDA candidate against a Jubilee candidate. And then you even come out and say, but why are these Jubilee people so pissed off when a UDA candidate is winning?
These Jubilee
but
people.
You are the Jubilee. On one hand, this is our party. On the other hand, it's these people.
You can't eat your cake
and
have it, bro.
It's somebody else. This is conmanship. And we want you to tell us what you think. 0719 012 600. Should the UDA supporters in Jubilee quit Jubilee, seek a re-election under UDA ticket and move on? Or should they just stay there? Ati tutapigania huko ndani. Pigania huko ndani. Who is getting fooled? I think it's the members of Jubilee.
That are being
and
fooled.
it even goes beyond the members of Jubilee, because now this is an elected leader who is getting paid by the taxpayer on account of having been elected on a Jubilee ticket, being in office. This is, I think, being conned. I'm being conned because I'm paying somebody who is no longer where he said
So
he was.
where he said he was going. And the thing, look, the very elements upon which you put him or her there, they came and told you, we are fighting for 1, 2, 3. And it is upon this platform that we think we can do the best. And then you're coming and doing something else with somebody else frolicking about. Then stop it. Because the promise that you made to me then no longer exists. It's been severed. Move. And I agree with that. You can't be confusing people all the time. Then here you're essentially what you're doing is that you're deceiving people.
Yeah.
You're saying one thing here and you're doing another thing on the other side. Choose a side. If you feel as if what you're doing has its merit, it is so potent, choose a side.
Let's hear from Mila Menga in Siaya. Good morning, Mila.
Hey, good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm okay. Umechukua job?
Good to hear you. Job bado bwana. Mimi si mwalimu, mimi si jeshi, mimi si daktari, mimi si mzee.
You have everything working against you.
Indu, how are you?
I am fine, Mila. How are you doing?
I'm good. We are missing City. I hope he's okay.
He's fine. We're missing him too.
Okay. I have a request to the team. Moving forward, you've been doing a very nice thing when you are inviting the CS for Treasury. I will request that you make it a trend that you invite all the CSs so that based on what they have been doing from when they got into power, the ruling party.
Yep.
We need to get from each and every one of them on what has been happening, what they have achieved, and I think that will lay the ground for Kenyans to know.
You're very right.
We make it issue based so that Kenyans are aware across the board.
Yeah.
Then I want to go back to the previous conversation where you are talking of what has been happening in the country. You know, if you go and look at every ministry and you look at the amount of resources that are laying idle across the country, government have invested on things and they are lying idle, and I will quote a lot of things. Let me give you an example. In Nairobi, there's somewhere we call the ASK showground.
Yes.
If you go there, you will find good, wonderful buildings, well built, finished, but they are only used only once in a year, and only for almost only 1 week. And then they lock that place. Nothing happens there for a whole year, for all those years. You know, those are resources that are just idling. They are in a prime area in Nairobi.
Yeah.
Lying idle for a whole year. And I can say a lot of things. When we have a law that when you are doing a project on the ground, you need to have a project management committee so that the locals are engaged and they advise you on how you can use local resources to make the process, to do the cost-benefit analysis so that you don't lose a lot of money for a project that could have costed quite fairly. And I want to give you an example. The government currently is implementing the last mile across the country.
On power.
Do you know that on power across the country? Actually, a wonderful project by the ruling administration. But when you look at how they are implementing that project, there is nobody who is involved. The community on the ground are rarely involved in the implementation, including digging of holes
for the poles.
For the poles.
Poles. They come with the people. They ferry people to come and dig holes in an area. You know, and that is based on tendering process that is flawed. You know, you could reduce the cost extremely by involving people, and if you involve them, when the power comes into the home, now they will be aware on what they.
It will be their power. They'll feel that they co-own this project.
Yes, they co-own the project.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And the government has chosen the path of imposing things on the people. You know, when you impose on people, they say, ile ilikuwa ya serikali, you know, now they're outside. Yeah.
That's true.
And that has messed us up for the longest time. And you know, it is a system failure. It is not that, you know, the civil servants that we have never goes away. You change the political system, but the civil servants are always there.
They're the same.
They are the same. So when you talk about the government, I think we need to differentiate between the two. When you talk about the government is always there. Yeah. What changes is
administrations.
Sure.
The ruling administration. That is what changes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is why I want to give a last point. If we want to change this nation, the nation currently looks like a tree that has a wonderful leaves. Let me use the analogy of a house. We have a very wonderful roof in the name of national government, made of tiles, and everything is done to a masterpiece roof. Then we have a wall. That is the county government. That is weak. Generally, it is not strong as weak. It is like you built. It is not finished. The wall is not finished. Then the foundation where we have the village elders, the assistant chiefs, that is completely weak. And you know, that is a house that is always, when something comes up, it is always threatened. If it comes, you are always threatened that it can fall down anytime.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. That is always, we are always on a panic mood because the foundation is entirely weak.
Yes.
Entirely, extremely weak. So we need to work on a system, and I will share with, I will request that you invite me so that I elaborate on this extensively on what I think should be done. And lastly, I am praying for President Magufuli, and I hope he's well wherever he is. And when we go into the BBI argument, let Kenyans support the BBI.
Thank you. Thank you, Mila. Have a lovely day. Thank you very much. This is Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We want to hear from you. 0719 012 600. We are asking today, should members of Jubilee Party who are elected on a Jubilee ticket, but they are supporting UDA candidates around the country, should they quit Jubilee and therefore lose their seats and seek re-election on that UDA ticket? 22 minutes after 9. Let's take a look at the weather.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right. Light rain in some parts of Nairobi. I don't know where, but okay, it looks like that's what's predicted. We'll see highs of 28 today and lows of 16. So raining in Nyeri, light rain at 18, highs of 26. We'll see highs of 29 in Nakuru today, sunny conditions at 20, partly sunny in Eldoret at 20, going to highs of 26, 31 the high in Kisumu, mostly sunny right now at 26. It's mostly cloudy in Kakamega, rather mostly sunny in Kakamega at 27, highs of 32 and lows of 16. We'll see highs of 32 in Mombasa, where it's mostly sunny right now at 28. 29 is what it is in Malindi right now, highs of 32 and lows of 26. It's raining in Kampala at 24, we'll see highs of 29. Sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's mostly sunny in Johannesburg at 17, highs of 25 and lows of 14. Mostly sunny conditions in Lagos at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 27, and it's cloudy in Kinshasa at 24. We'll see highs of 31. 11 degrees and sunny in Beijing, highs of 13 and lows of 0 today. 12 the high in Paris, rain showers this morning at 9, coming down to lows of 4. Mostly clear in London at 9, highs of 12 and lows of 7, and -1 in New York this morning. That's going to be the low for today and highs of 4.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
9. Let's go to the phone lines, and we're asking you whether the members of Jubilee Party who are now openly campaigning and supporting UDA candidates should quit the party and seek re-election on a UDA ticket. Brian in Nyeri, good morning.
Good morning, Eric and Muga.
And Ndu.
This is Ndu.
Mundu, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Ndu. Timodo.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
So, Eric,
in
this country, we have an issue.
Mm.
We have an issue, and one day to alter. Because I don't see why the politicians, they will took a lot of time and got the resources to look at their work out there doing. When you look at their own expenditure, they're so high. Why should we, as citizens, be taxed so highly so that we can look over a politician who tends to help us? I don't get to understand the reason why we should get so highly taxed. And then we're doing nothing.
Right, Brian. Now we are discussing now the political side of things.
Yeah, I know, but
and the question now, and I'd like you to answer the question directly. What do you think should happen to these politicians? Should they quit or should they not?
What am I talking about today
is we've lost Brian. Solomon in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning, Ndu.
Yes.
And Eric, how are you guys?
Good, thank you.
And I think these guys should just quit and go home. My reason is, for example, like in Nakuru, your party, you have a candidate, then you go campaigning for another person. So it's, I believe in each and every party it's wrong. And sometimes I admire how ODM run their affairs. ODM is more united than any other party in Kenya. And what we have problem with these Tanga MPs is they want to look that they are going with the trend, and they are also with the state. So they want to be appearing on both sides. They are on their favorite. So because hawataki kukosea mtu, that's the problem we have with these politicians. That's why you find if for example if Raila comes, they'll come and sing for him. If Uhuru comes, they'll come sing for him. If Mudavadi comes, they'll come. They want to look they are okay with everyone.
They're just playing politics.
Yes, but which is wrong. You see, and that's why I naunga mkono Rafael. If you cannot conform to the party rules and regulations and its support, just be like Muhammad Ali. The only person maybe who can play around with these people Just Muhammad Ali.
Why? Because he's independent.
Country. Yes, and this Django for Zika.
Mm.
These people are independent, so they can they can support Ruto or Raila if they want, because it is their own. There's no party that supported them when they are campaigning.
Mm.
Yes.
ODM has Aisha Jumwa. Don't forget.
Yeah.
And Aisha Jumwa is, where is she? Is she in ODM? Is she in UDA? Where is she?
And sometimes you don't know if she's even in Jubilee.
That's the point. Thank you very much, Solomon. Thank you. 0719-012-600. We are asking, should the Jubilee members of Parliament, County Assembly, Governors, Senate, who are openly in defiance of Jubilee and campaigning for members of UDA, should they quit, go back to the people, seek re-election under UDA, and also test their popularity? Otherwise, they're being dishonest. Should they do that? Yagon is saying they are cowards. They will not quit.
Cowards are too hungry too hungry and trying to maintain the status quo in terms of where they're able to benefit or not. And that's what we see. It's about them. I'm trying to say this while not being upset. It's not about you, this Kenyan who is looking at this whole charade and thinking to yourself, okay, maybe there's something in it for me. It's not. It's about where they can be better placed and how they can benefit, from these political places. But there's no allegiance. Furthermore, there's no allegiance to you. So if you're showing very clearly that you cannot even pay homage or allegiance to the group that got you in the first place, how much more for the people that you are seeking position for? The group that brought you there. Because let's be honest, if you're all shouting and touting Jubilee, if that platform did not exist, they would not have these positions upon which they stand today. And if you cannot show that allegiance and that loyalty to it and the lines that they ask you to color within, then if you have so much prowess, do it somewhere else. Which is okay. It's good. Healthy competition is good. It's clear that UDA has some clout, yeah? You're able to garner a seat here and there. You can do it. So don't hide under the umbrella of Jubilee when it suits you. Do it on your own.
Kabisa. Let's hear from Mike in Kisumu. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Salama
Very
kabisa.
Well. That is Mike. Just quick to the contribution of the day.
Yes.
This is not even a question you should be asking. Because if you look at the Political Parties Act, it simply says that when you go against the party or be deemed to be supporting a person from a different party, then you should leave that party and seek re-election to the new party that you are supporting. But these people want to do this because it's either they fear they're going to lose that seat when they go back to the elections.
Yep.
And that is why they cannot quit.
So how can we make them, because the law, and you've said, you're absolutely right, the law on political parties is clear about you and your behavior as a member of a certain political party. And also the constitution of these parties, I'm sure, is very, very clear on membership and adherence to the code of conduct as a member of a party. So if all these things are there and we're still seeing these members not following them, how can we as citizens, as the ones who vote for them, make sure that we enforce on behalf of the law?
We should just tell them to follow the law. If they think that they're still popular, they could quit and come take election from us.
Okay.
Yes.
Watoke, wakuje, warudi nyumbani. Thank you very much, Mike. Karori in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning, Eric.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Morning, Du.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very fine. I think I've never seen a person with so many names like Du. Everyone calls her a different thing.
My brother, it's a very serious something, I'm telling you. One today, another tomorrow, but we roll with the punches. What do we do?
Karibu, Kesha. Anyway. Now, Eric.
Yes.
I think what is happening should not surprise us. From the history of our country, like if you look at the past 4 or 5 elections, there have been a metamorphosis of so many parties such that in every other election you have a different party, So we can't really say our party structures have a certain foundation. Like maybe in the US where you have these are Democratic candidates, these are Republican candidates, and a bit more structured like that. So it doesn't surprise anyone to see the DP doing what he's doing, and people complaining silently because at the end of the day, they know even the president, who is Uhuru Kenyatta, can probably support another candidate, and they come up with another party which is not even TD and mix some ODM members, and have this concoction of parties.
Yeah.
So it's something we are quite accustomed to, but on a serious note, what the DP is doing, I think there's somebody who said it's conmanship. I don't know whether it's you or
it's Eric.
It's Eric, huh?
Yes.
That's actually true. He's the one who always talks about political conmanship.
Matapeli.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly what he's doing. And no one is man enough to tell him
that he's a top
this is what he's
Matapeli.
doing.
That's true.
Because in Kenya, even when you argue in politics, even in the office or at home, whenever you seem to be making common sense about something, something that is just pure common sense, and you talk about it, if it is going against a certain candidate, you'll be told, Apana, where you are saying like that because you are Kielewe.
You're Kieleweke.
Yep. No, you are Tanga. That's why, even if it's something as common, as a deputy party leader of a party,
of a national party,
another party, that should not happen. And I think,
true.
Unfortunately, that's what we are used to, and guys will just,
we need court action. Maybe we just need go to court and compel the person, compel the Speaker of the National Assembly to declare that this person is no longer here with the party that nominated them.
Yeah, and tell him to pick a side.
Yep. Karuri, thank you very much for your call.
Karibu.
Asante sana. Chris in Juja, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very fine. Good morning, too.
Good morning, Chris.
Yes, so I would like to contribute to the topic about this political dishonesty. And first of all, I have to cite that it's not very fair. It's not very good. And my personal opinion is that these guys should just quit and go. And I'll side with the Honorable Tuju, Mr. Tuju. What I know is that Jubilee Party was formed as a result of merge of so very many political parties.
Yes.
That came together under the umbrella of Jubilee. And when they were doing this, they had one vision and one agenda. And that's the platform in which they campaigned. They campaigned on, and they got elected. So, first of all, this issue of saying that, this party was UPP, that now is UDA. I think in the first place, these parties are merged. And therefore, I find it very unfair.
It's actually not clear because there are many parties that came together to form Jubilee. And the agreement at some point was that for the next 10 years at least, these parties that have merged to form Jubilee shall cease to be active. Also, we're not seeing the BAS, PNU, being active.
The dead in the water.
You see now, and that's why we are calling that dishonesty. Because if you came together and agreed on something, and probably there was some memorandum and all that, then you should stick to the memorandum for at least those 10 years. You should be genuine. And say, fine, this is what we structured, and this is the structure, this is what we are going to do. Because right now, like what Mr. Tuju is saying is very true, because these people are sending mixed signals out there. These people are like they are just bringing a lot of confusion to the people. And who are they in the first place? If you are UDA, then you should come out, campaign on UDA, tell us what you stand for, tell us what you want to do, and let us re-elect you. Let me just give you a quick example. You know, like these people they are like riding on the foundation that was laid by Jubilee. Eric, you cannot start building a house today, create a foundation, then someone else come and start arranging stones and claim to be working together with you. But I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. And my fair opinion is that these people, instead of sending out these mixed signals, doing this, doing that. And if you look at these people who are championing for UDA and all that, they are not that very senior people in politics, you know. And that's why, to some extent, you'd say that even sometimes you'd prefer, you know, the old guard as opposed to the young
these young
because,
ones.
They
have no political backbone.
They don't have, it's true. And, you know, they look confused and all that. Let me give you a very quick scenario. Look at what Honorable Morcomen was into. You know, just few days being given the whip, just see how he behaved. See our good friend Mr. Kanata, just 3 months barely into power. So sometimes you just see these things and you read in between the lines and
inexperience. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. 0719-012-600. Chris Wandili says Tanga Brigade is a bunch of politicians with no basis. No one will dare quit. Brian says Hussein, that's Yegon, who says that they're too cowardly, they cannot quit. But Isurusi Yebu Marachi says UDA has an existing agreement with Jubilee. They are coalition partners.
Right.
Really? As we take this break at 20 minutes to 10 o'clock, let's see what's happening on the roads as we come to the close of the hour in 20 minutes. And we are still on the biggest golfing doubleheader exhibition in Kenya, brought to you by the European Tour. You can watch it live, courtesy of the Standard Group, on KTN News and live streaming on Standard Digital. Both events are supported by Safaricom, Vulcan Wireless, the Sports, Arts and Social Development Fund, Current Country Club, Johnny Walker, Keringet and Hemingways. In the meantime, grab a copy of the Standard newspaper and follow us on our digital platforms to find out who will be participating at the Magical Kenya Open that begins this Thursday the 18th to Sunday the 21st at the Current Country Club, and then thereafter next week from Tuesday to Friday, the Kenya Savannah Classic. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here, not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those pot-belly people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know. She'll tell you, hey, maze, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you used to do?
And women are guilty about that.
Is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay
All right,
winning.
looking much better in some parts. Mombasa Road is actually looking much better today. Thika Road didn't provide too much of a headache this Monday morning. Hopefully it'll flow along smoothly as we get on out of here. Still want to use the bypasses if you're getting off Mombasa Road and you don't want to stick to Uhuru Highway coming out of the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Okay? Apart from that, it looks pretty much okay, guys. So hope this traffic on Monday continues to flow. Getting around about to 10 o'clock. Getting through the city won't be too painful right now. Let us know through the day if it does. At least we can let other people know what is going on. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
17 to 10, 0719-012-600. What do you think? Should the members of Jubilee who are now openly supporting other party candidates quit? An argument is being fronted here by David Mayo, who says even the Jubilee party leader supported a candidate from ODM in the by-election. I think this is where the problem started.
Even the Jubilee party
leader.
The Jubilee party leader.
This is the president who was supporting an ODM candidate. I don't know which one that is.
Which one is this in the by-election? Which by-election?
Don't know.
You have to be clear about that one.
Don't know. Joseph Gethaiga in Nyeri. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm fine.
Should they
so
quit?
What I want to see? No, I don't think they should quit. Because in Kenya, we operate on politics of deceit. Because if you look, those who are saying that the Taga should quit, when Maina Kamada was supporting ODM in Kibra and Anwar Guru and Fatuma Gedi, all those, even the agents of ODM, Tuju never said anything.
Right.
When the president went to Mombasa, you remember what Joe told him about Boga. There was Joe, what the president supported and said about the Faisal issue. You remember? So in Kenya...
So the president was supporting Faisal of ODM?
No, the president was supporting Boga of ODM.
Oh, Boga of ODM.
Okay.
Yes, but in Kenya... So in Kenya, Kenyans tend to forget that, we treat our politics as they are good. In Kenya, we operate on politics of deceit. Look at how Jubilee Party was formed. The main aim was not to unite Kenyans. It was about how we can keep William Ruto's powers. And you have seen how they have done it very well. So those issues of lying to Kenyans that we should have politics, and also UDA has an agreement with Jubilee Party.
What is that? What does that agreement say?
Does agreement even...
Does it say
Fatuma
that UDA can front candidates?
Can anybody within the supposed coalition front candidates?
It can. That's like ODM does with Wiper and...
Those have a coalition.
They have a coalition, it's not one party.
But UDA is not the same party as... Fatuma Duro is the minority, the majority, deputy majority leader. And she's a member of UDA. Because UDA was PDR. Just like if they decide to support each other, they can, but they can go head on.
Okay.
And you have seen even in Matungu, ANC candidate, not in Matungu, the ANC Secretary General, nominated, supported ODM. You remember he's called, I don't remember his name, the ANC Secretary, not Barack Muka, but he's an MP. Supported. So in Kenya,
Savula.
We operate in, not Savula. Savula is an MP of Rurabi. I have forgotten his name.
Okay.
It is so in Kenya, there's nothing like politics of good politics hygiene. Kenyans tend to forget. So
that is our politics and we should just live with it.
We operate that. We write one another.
Thank you, Joseph.
We tend to forget.
Thank you, Joseph. And he raises some good points, actually, because, yes, Fatuma Dulo, the senator for... is a PDR member. Odhiambo in Nairobi. Good morning.
Mine is Gore, yes, sir?
Yours is Gore.
Yeah, this is Odhiambo Gore on the line.
Yes, Odhiambo, good morning.
Good morning, you guys. You're doing a very wonderful work.
Asante.
Thank you, Gore.
Now, this issue to do with, orderliness or honesty or dishonesty, I don't know how you arrive at such words. Because why should somebody like Ruto be vilified? I don't see the point. Because there is no order in Jubilee to start with. Secondly, there is no order in the government of the day, Jubilee government of the day. We have Jubilee as a party, and then we have Jubilee as a government. Now, let me start with Jubilee as a government. Jubilee as a government has no distance because I don't see distance in a situation where a head of state stands up to say, my country is losing 2 billion shillings every day to corruption.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's no difference in that statement because it simply shows you are incapable of running the country.
Yep.
Now, the head of state, and we have a record here, Kenyatta has ruled this country for long. Moi ruled this country for long. They all have their deputation. Yeah, right. In those days they were called vice president. I have never seen a situation where Kenyatta rebuked his deputy in public. I've never seen that.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen, despite the fact that they disagreed with
Jaramogi.
Yeah, he never rebuked that man in public. I never saw that. Now, Moi ruled this country for a very long time. He never rebuked Kibaki in public. He never rebuked Saitoti, except for one single occasion at Kasarani where, there was that mix-up in the, taxation. You understand?
So
but I
Odhiambo, you're saying that our politics is basically this way.
It doesn't make sense at all.
We have no sanity in our politics, and therefore we should just let it go.
Let it be.
Because yes, and you're right, and also it's the same thing that our previous caller was saying, that we have those in Kieleweke who've been supporting other party members in by-elections, and they gave the example of the by-election in Kibra. Should we just be sitting back and saying, okay, this is our politics anyway, so let's just let it happen?
Yeah, they could be making sense because you see, look, you cannot pretend to be focusing on sanity on such isolated cases of Ruto. I mean, if people are looking for sanity, then it should be all round. And so that is on Jubilee as a government. Let's come to Jubilee as a party. Now, currently, Raila is, after having done his handshake with Uhuru, he is currently working with Jubilee government or Jubilee party. I would say Jubilee party also. And I don't know under what structured rules this arrangement is done. And Tuju is not saying anything. Raila is working with the government. That is Jubilee government. What does the political parties say? And he has not joined the Jubilee as a party. He has not pulled into Jubilee. So I think we are getting mixed somewhere.
There's some confusion. We need clarity. Thank you very much, Odhiambo Gore.
Thank you so much indeed.
Asante sana. Zachary in Nakuru, good morning.
Oh, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Zachary.
Boy, there are.
I almost gave up.
Don't. And you also know, Justus is also on the line. Justus in Kilifi. Just stay on the line. Justus will speak to you shortly. Zachary, yes.
Yeah, now, very quickly, how is Mwarimandru, our Japuj?
Japuj is fine.
Japuj is fine?
Yeah, he's enjoying.
Oh, my regards. And do condolences on behalf of all the Nigerians for the loss of Mr. O.B. Luru Briggs, whose funeral I followed very closely. And also the case, and I found that it's a very large family, a billionaire family, and they are philanthropic, okay?
Yes, we accept. Thank you.
I love Nigeria, by the way. I love Nigeria.
Voila, you're onto something, man.
And in particular, the fufu, the women, and, like that.
To the point, Zachary.
So my point is this, charity begins at home. If I'm able to actually stand against my father, up to my father, and they do all sorts of kind of things that, are carrying my family and my father in particular, or my mother, how sure that whatever I'm going to telling now my neighbors in the village, that I'm going to be faithful to them. It is upon us, Mr. Eric, and I've been saying this, to actually review who is Eric, who is Du, who is Japuj, okay? So that I can be able to count on them on my journey tomorrow, okay? You have used a very good word, and as I finish, I wish to restate it. Conmanship, yeah? This is all what we are going through. And it is upon us to rise up to the occasion and start reviewing who is Eric, who is so and so, who is that guy, okay?
Right.
So that the next time we are actually making informed
the right decision.
Thank you and have a nice day.
You too,
Cheers,
Zachary.
Zachary.
Thank you. Justus, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good
Very
morning.
I agree with the caller, the one before this other guy who said that we should not bother so much about whether they need to resign or not, because I have a couple of reasons. But the first observation is that we actually really don't have parties as parties where people belong ideologically. You commit to a certain way of doing business. If you look at the policies of our parties, they're all the same. Some of them are outfit we slap on candidates during elections, and after that they forget. If you ask them what the party stands for, some of them have no idea. But my main reason for not really supporting the call for any resignation, especially those who are elected, is what it will cost me as a taxpayer. If all those guys, around 30 of them, were to resign tomorrow, we have, let's say, a mini national election. I look at it, it will be very costly for the country for two reasons. The tension, the social and the emotional tension, and we are likely to raise, the temperatures we are likely to raise as a country. And two, what it can actually cost us in monetary terms. Because right now the country does not have money. IBC does not have money. So we called for elections of, let's say, 20 plus seats. And then 12 months down the line, we'll begin budgeting for the same seats again. And I assure you, in many of those places, like where, let's say, your UDA is popular, wherever it is, you'll be surprised that 90% of those same people will be brought back. Because most of the time we confuse parties with regional balkanization, with the tribe and everything. So you find that we'll be creating a scenario where we're creating a sort of temporary Matthias, like, vote for me because we are being persecuted. And then we'll get back the same people come back to parliament, still the same people and the same money, but you and I could have paid for that drama for the period. So my opposition to resignation is not so much whether I want those guys in parliament or not.
The cost.
It's a cost, and actually the social, almost emotional upheaval tension it causes in the country, because you are talking about 20, 30, probably at least not less than 10 MPs coming from a specific region, and therefore we end up creating an us versus them. Yet at the bottom of it, our parties are all the same. If you take away the labels, there's nothing different. The only party which used to be different was the Social Democrats. Which actually is a minority party right now. And it's not even, I don't even know whether it's still legal.
Exist?
But the rest are simply labels we have plastered on people during elections and nothing more.
Thank you, Justus. Asante sana. Let's hear from Stanley in Mombasa. Good morning.
Hello.
Stanley, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stanley.
My contribution is I don't wish that anybody should resign from any party. And I think this is informed by our daily politics. A friend of mine usually tells me what are politicians supposed to do on a daily basis. If a farmer, on a daily basis, wakes up, goes into his farm, a lawyer works around the legal issues. So what is a politician supposed to do?
Politics.
They're supposed to work around their politics, all that politics from morning to evening. So I think that all of us, some of us who are not into politics, should move away and do other things and leave the politicians do their thing and do our own thing and on our own way. Instead of all of us
focusing on the politician and their politics,
commenting on their politics, going into politics, and we are not into politics. The politicians will always wake up in the politics and they will sleep in the politics.
Kila mtu afanye kazi yake.
Kila mtu afanye kitu yake. Kama wewe ni mkulima, uwe mkulima. Kama wewe ni mwanasiasa, ingia mwanasiasa. Kama wewe ni journalist, do your journalism. If you are a doctor, do your doctoring. And then I think that is how life should be. The politics tutajisumbua.
Sawa. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you very much calling in from Mombasa.
Okay.
So we asked David Mayo to clarify what he meant by the party leader of Jubilee campaigning for other candidates in the by-elections. And he said Uhuru supported Omar Boga in Msambweni. Murathe and Waiguru were supporting an ODM candidate in Kibra. So Tuju should not apply the law selectively. He should say that we nominated you, Maina Commander, as a Jubilee MP.
Mm-hmm.
We, Jubilee, do not expect that you are going to support an ODM candidate when Jubilee had a candidate in Kibra.
So the sentiment that is being put out now essentially should be fair across board.
Yes.
That you cannot say it on one side.
What's good for Gada is good for geese.
For duck.
For duck.
Yeah.
Good for geese, good for duck. That's how it should be. Okay. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. And we thank you for your participation as well. As we conclude, let's remind you about what's going to be happening from Thursday this week. And this is the Magical Kenya Open happening at the Current Country Club between Thursday and Sunday. This is one of the European Tour tournaments that's going to be taking place in the country this week. And then next week from Tuesday, we'll have the Kenya Savannah Classic, Tuesday until Friday. €1 million cash prize for each. You'll be able to watch these two tournaments on KTN News, and on standard digital platforms. Let's end with today's proverb, which is, there are many colorful flowers on the path of life, but the prettiest have the sharpest thorns. If you want the prettiest flower, be prepared to deal with the thorns. If you want the best, be prepared to go with the risk involved.
Right.
Just know that there are many options in life, but the ones that are most rewarding come with the greatest risk.
Sure.
Sema kwaheri.
Kwaheri ya kuonana. Tuonana siku ingine, Mungu akipenda.
Kabisa. See you again. Remember, now until you have an interrupted music coming in, you've got a Spice Drive, you've got Adults in the Room happening every weekday. And then we'll see you again. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.